913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us to be a part of the show. Jack Johnson hanging out with us for the first hour. What's up, brother?
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I wish you would have been out there at the softball game just to watch and to give us an idea of how close some of the Chiefs' abilities are to, you know, the beer league softball that you play.
Yeah.
You know, is it close? Is it not? Is it reminiscent of when you go out there on different weeknights and have some fun playing some softball? What's the skill level? Just to give us an assessment of softball guy.
You know, it's funny that the longer I played beer league softball, the more you know. The athletic guys are not always the best. It's the beer gut guys, the ones that have been playing just softball for like 10 to 15 years. I remember when I first started playing, I thought, because I just played baseball, this should be really easy. It's absolutely incorrect. It's you find the 6 foot, 250-pound guy that's got a giant beard, barrel chest, and a beer gut. He's probably the best player you'll ever see play the sport.
Yeah, it's white men can't jump, is what it is. Give them the chump. Give him the chump. You mean you mean play basketball? You want to play? That guy right there. I know nothing about him, but that looks like a softball player. I don't care about this strapping young lad that's 6'2", 205, and he's got 4 different bats coming out of his bat bag. I'm gonna take that dude over there that's showing up with a glove, a dirty hat, and chew in his lip.
Yes,
that's the guy I'm taking on my team with the first pick.
They're always playing like shortstop too. And it's like, I'll just hit it to that guy, and no, they somehow have incredible range.
Like Ozzie Smith out there.
Yeah, they got a flask in their back pocket. I mean,
it's amazing.
That's what I have come to figure out playing this sport.
It was interesting watching some of the Chiefs players last night, and Justin Reed had mentioned that, you know, it's cool to be out here and see guys that are professionals in what they do, but be outside their comfort zone. And that is absolutely right with a number of different people, because you see the difference in skill level from sport to sport. There are certainly translatable skills, and there are guys that can do it all. Patrick Mahomes is a freak. Yep. He can play basketball. He can play baseball. He can play football. He's now decided to be really, really good at golf, just to make it more annoying that whatever he picks up and decides, cricket. Give him a chance at cricket. Let's see what he can do.
Jack of all trades.
Yes. And then there are maybe just sort of natural, outside of Patrick Mahomes, but just natural athletes. Like, we know Mahomes played baseball growing up. We know he played basketball growing up. We know he played football growing up. But Louis Rees-Zammit didn't play softball, didn't play baseball. He said he had a little cricket background. He was mashing. He's like, no, I've never swung a baseball bat. You know, I don't play softball. And he got up there and was just crushing home runs, just killing it. I'm like, he's just a natural. Like, that dude is just an athlete, whether it be his ability to run a sub 4.4 or his ability to be so damn beautiful. Like, up close and personal, he is pretty. I had a hard time talking to him. Like, it was like the first time I listened to the Beatles, like when I looked into his eyes. It was crazy. But clearly he's got crazy hand-eye coordination, because he was just destroying. And if you've never really played baseball or softball, that softball coming down at an angle where the bat is, it's not like you can keep your bat through the zone a long time in baseball where the ball is coming on that almost same plane. No, you're hitting it at a certain time with a certain launch angle while the ball is coming down a different way, and somebody that's never played before who was just destroying it. Like, all right, well, that guy, it's not going to help him on a football field, but you get an idea of guys that are just simply natural with whatever they try to do.
I think it's funny, especially when you see, like, first pitches at Kauffman Stadium when guys go in there, and you can always see who had some form of a background, who didn't. And with softball, sometimes a little bit of that, too, you can see with the swing. And maybe that's because I think in all kinds of sports, not that it'd be the easiest to translate to, but like baseball and softball are always those easy sports to tell if they had any background in the groin. I feel like in football we've seen, or, you know, in the locker room, Chiefs players will play basketball. There's a hoop in there.
Right.
You may or may not be able to tell where they played in high school or not, but to just be able to pick up a bat, you're right. It sounds simple because a softball is slow, it's large, and it's neon yellow. You can't really miss it, but I will say, to hit a home run, it can be challenging if you've never done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see Tex says, I'd like to see what happens with Brittany and Patrick Mahomes on a soccer field. Yeah. I'll take
good
Brittany.
one.
I'll take Brittany in that one. I think Patrick might be out of his element on that one.
J.J. Watt and his wife have some funny videos because they're preparing for that tournament.
Right.
And
yeah.
she kind of gave him an easy one on a goal, and she was like, oh, wow, like surprised. And J.J. is like towering over all these other players.
Yeah, and obviously she played for U.S. women's national team, one of the best women's
Houston,
soccer players.
I don't
Was
know
she a
what
Cougar? Oh, the
women's
national. Okay.
NWSL.
Yeah. So she played there, and yeah, phenomenal. And Brittany played professional soccer overseas, so she's obviously really talented. So yeah, I think Patrick would be out of his element there. I think that would be one of those
one sport.
Yeah, I think that would be one of those to where the soccer players would be like, "Oh, did you see Patrick Mahomes?" I'm like, he didn't really have a lot. I mean, he's got some athleticism, right? But foot-eye coordination. Different than hand-eye coordination in most every sport I've ever played. In fact, the only sports I've ever played are hand-eye coordination. Foot-eye coordination, no, not there. Not me. I am terrible at trying to play soccer, as evidenced by the media soccer game out at Sporting or at Children's Mercy Park for the Current a couple of years ago when I went to hit an easy cross that I just simply swung and missed, and it went through.
Fall?
It went through my legs, and then I tried my left foot to try to slide and kick it as it was going through my legs, and then I end up falling into the goal. And then I realized, like, those soccer balls are coming pretty fast, very quickly. And then you got to judge the spin on it because as it was crossed, it hit the grass and slowed up. And so I whiffed and swung early with my foot. Also realizing that maybe I shouldn't run straight down the field makes sense as to why soccer players that have done it before run at an angle to the ball to then hit it in instead of just going straight to it. And then Kent Swanson was to my left. And he was ready to kick it in, and
No harm, no foul.
I swung and missed, and it goes out of bounds, and we didn't get the goal. And Kent was quite upset, and we lost 1-0. So, yeah, it was fun running around out there, except for the complete and total embarrassment, and the person that I didn't know that had a brilliant cross, and he was not happy. I'm like, sorry, dude, but you shouldn't have passed it to me. That's your fault. I mean, what are you doing? That's you see me out here lumbering around. You should have passed it to somebody that's actually played soccer before, idiot.
Those media games, too, right before you're allowed to eat and drink. Like, I did that both at the Comets media game and the Sporting KC. And I will say, for me, kicking the soccer ball is not the hardest. Dribbling the soccer ball, as I think they call it, it wasn't the hardest for me. It was just going up and down, back and forth in the 90-degree heat that it was after drinking beer and eating fried food. And then it was like, that was a stupid decision. And you feel exhausted. I didn't do anything the next day just because of that.
I gain a much greater respect for soccer players.
Incredible shape.
Not that I'm not aware of how skilled the game is, but even just like running up and down the field, but like other guys that have played soccer that are in the media game, and like you go up there to try to steal the ball, and just how strong and like just knocking you off. They're like, yeah, I got no chance to get that ball away from that guy, and he's just kicking it. I feel like I should be able to go over and kick it from him, but no, his legs are tree trunks, and he's just going to knock me out of the way. And yeah, I got no chance here, so I'm just going to stand over here. It's like, wow, yeah, it's different with guys that have played it at a high level.
And you did the easier of the two crosses to try and handle, because have you ever tried to like do a header?
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm gonna mess up my neck.
Yep, you'll either hit yourself right in the nose.
Yeah,
or just completely miss.
There's a technique to it that a novice should not try.
Yep.
So there was no header that was going to happen for me.
Or you have to wear the Peter Cech helmet for soccer, basically.
Oh, you give me a football helmet? Yeah, I'll hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do that, it'd be great. Yeah, the football. Let me do that. But yeah, it was fun last night watching the players get out there outside of their comfort zone a little bit, outside of their element, and seeing the way that some can play, and seeing the struggles of a lot of other guys. And my brother and I were talking about how we felt bad for Trey Smith because he was a fish out of water on a baseball field, just trying to stop the ball or throw the ball or swing a bat that it looked like it might have been the first time he ever picked up a bat, because the swing when the whole body goes with the swing, right? The arms aren't really moving independent of your waist and your legs. It's just your whole body swinging at the same time, like a sorry, dude, but a child would the first time they're picking up a bat. And I felt bad, but he was out there, having fun, etc. And then you see guys that are like, okay, clearly a baseball background. Nick Bolton can play. He's got the load, he's got the hips leading the hands, and he was mashing. It's like, okay, that guy has a baseball background. All right, that guy's swung a baseball bat a lot in his life, even though eventually he clearly chose football.
Where did they put Trey in the field?
Trey was in center field, deep center field by the fence.
Okay.
Because there were either fly balls that were home runs or there were rocket ground balls. And so they put they put the guys that were, maybe had some experience in the field with some rocket ground balls as opposed to a high fly ball that you can maybe get over near and then let it fall and pick it up and lob it back into second. Yeah, it was kind of fun watching the guys out there do that. But it was a cool event and raise money for charity and things like that. And Justin Reed in the home run derby, first 4 swings were misses. In the home run derby. Not that he didn't hit home runs, he didn't hit the ball at all. Same thing. Steven St. John was doing a great job emceeing, and Joshua Williams had like 5 straight swings and misses, and then he tipped the ball, and St. John goes, "He's on fire!" with just a foul tip in a home run derby. So yeah, it was fun out there. So we appreciate the Chiefs having us out there. Let's talk some Royals. I did not miss the Royals game last night because they played yesterday afternoon, and I am as disappointed as I was on Tuesday night. I'm that shocked and surprised the Royals were able to pull that game off yesterday and find a way to win. That is a good team. It's what a good team does, playing another really good team when you need your ancillary parts to go and step up when your pitcher didn't have it. And I think the rain delay, the postponement for Brady Singer, he was going to pitch on Wednesday night. It gets moved to then Thursday afternoon. He didn't have it. You could tell early on he couldn't spot, he couldn't locate. He didn't look like, Bulldog Brady Singer. It looked like I'm trying to find it, Brady Singer. I don't have confidence out here on the mound, Brady Singer. How can I make it through a couple of times through the lineup? And he didn't make it as long into the game as you would hope. But the bullpen comes in there and goes 5 1/3, no hits, no runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts to help out and take over for a struggling Brady Singer. And the offense does enough. And Kyle Isbell puts the ball in play twice. MJ Melendez with the best play he's made all year to be able to jump over Bo Naylor and to get his hand on the plate right as Naylor's glove is hitting his arm, and to matrix that thing and have one of the best. It's not a slide. We can't call it a hurdle. It's a hurdle. One of the best hurdle leaps to score that we've seen, and just mammoth to tie the game there, because you get an out at home, you're down 3-2. Okay, good luck. At that point, it would have been crushing. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, and they get a play at home. Bobby made the play earlier in the game with the infield drawn in, and they get the out there. And but to not be able to tie it up there, and it's good that Isbell put it in play, because a strikeout, you don't get that. It's the difference between a strikeout and putting the ball in play. So Isbell put it in play, but he hit it so hard to the first baseman that the contact plays on, and MJ was dead to rights. But I was surprised, Jack, watching the replay, that Bo Naylor just sat down in his crouch for a long time. And all of a sudden he looked up and his brother's getting ready to throw home, and then he jumps up to get in place. Mm-hmm. That was he not aware that, they might throw home on that? It was odd to see how long it took Bo Naylor to react to, oh wait, there's going to be a play at home.
Or he thought, that MJ wasn't coming. Like,
right,
rocket to first base, no chance in hell he's coming down the line.
Yeah.
It was funny that I think in the same inning, if not a little bit before that, both the Naylor brothers had a guy dead to rights, Bobby Witt Jr., when the ball was snapped back down to first.
Right.
Naylor went to tag the bag.
That's right, and Bobby
gets a second, and then Bo Naylor goes to tag the opposite side that MJ goes to. Maybe it's a Naylor thing. Who knows?
That's right. Neither one of them could Naylor.
That's a good one. Good play on words there. But, I don't hate the contact play there. It's so up and down a little bit. I feel like we've had this debate over and over again, and the Royals have been thrown out at home so many times. But I will say this. for MJ in that spot, I think there are a lot of inexperienced base runners that are just going to try to slide and then say, oh, he blocked. Because the Royals did challenge Naylor blocking the bag, but I believe with the rules, if the throw takes you that way, it's not blocking because he wasn't trying to.
There's so many different intricate rules with
there
that
are.
And fine print along with it that, but go ahead.
And, with, thank God in baseball that no longer you can truck somebody to play because that could have ended Bo Naylor's season. I mean, MJ's a big dude, and the way his body was contorted, if MJ just blew him off the plate, that would have been a pretty dangerous situation. I know there's probably older fans saying, I wish it was
and that's
still
probably
around.
what he would have done, right?
Absolutely, he would have done that if this
and
was
he
in the
been
90s.
Out.
Yeah,
and he would have been out.
Yeah, I'm assuming he would have maybe been able to hold on to the ball.
I would guess he would have been out. The ball was securely in Bo Naylor's glove, and I think it would have survived a collision. I think it would have
probably survived it. But for MJ right there in that spot, I mean, you got to think about the bang bang decisions there. He's looking at the ball coming home. He gets maybe half a second to react. The ball is up the line, the third base line. I have to go the other way, but not just slide around. I have to go over him and then be able to touch the plate right there. That was incredibly heads up, and honestly, it was the difference in the game. And if he is out, just like we felt like when the Bobby Witt Jr. era happened, or if it didn't happen, the Royals are losing that game because of Cleveland's bullpen. Now, they did break through off Cleveland's bullpen later in the game, but I'm not liking the chances in a 3-2 game after you had blown another opportunity to drive in runs with less than 2 outs.
And guys who aren't the main factors of this team, Will Smith comes through and has great relief. The bullpen steps up and continues to throw the ball well. And 2 outs, nobody on. Frazier doubles, and then Isbell first pitch swinging. Man, I'm glad he got a hit on that because we can avoid the conversation of, I mean, you got 2 outs, you got a man at second, and you swing at the first pitch, Kyle. You don't work the count. Come on, you swing at the first pitch, and he laced the fastball, which was right over the middle. If he would have taken that just to simply take the pitch, it's the best pitch he was going to get in the at-bat. I can't imagine him getting a more hittable pitch than 96, almost right down the middle. And he rips it into right field for a hit. Frazier scores. They take the lead. And then, you get Schreiber that comes on in relief of Sam Long. That's right, because Sam Long, he walked Schneemann. And then Schreiber comes on, and MacArthur comes on, and MacArthur didn't have it easy. He had to go a one-run game. MacArthur comes on. Last outing struggled, and he's got Juan Jimenez and Jose Ramirez in a one-run game. That's as difficult as it's going to get for a closer.
And maybe the best possible situation for him to come in there. I mean, he could have blown it, and we're all talking this morning about they need to take MacArthur out of the closer's role. But for confidence, you need to face guys like that. You need to face the best 3 hitters, or 2 of the 3, in Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez. And I thought his stuff, even though he only threw about 7 or 8 pitches, it played really well. It played more than we saw in the last couple of outings. I mean, he had 96 on his 2-seam. He was locating the slider well. He got Ramirez reaching in that at-bat. And I thought, one of the moments in that at-bat that scared me was, Freddie Fermin, or maybe it came from the Royals dugout, they lined up inside on 2-1, 96, and I'm like, if he misses just slightly, game's tied. I mean, there's no question about it. Earlier in the game, Brady Singer was set up for a fastball down and away, and he missed middle to Ramirez, and he hit it 430,000 feet from home.
I think it
plate.
was 430K.
Yeah, I mean,
as soon as he hit it, you're like, well, that's gone.
Yeah, well, that's pretty typical there.
I can just go about my day and do something else. I don't need to watch it land and him run the bases. That's definitely gone.
Let's just speed this thing
can
up.
They
fast
move
forward
the? Can they move the foul pole 50 feet to the left?
Yeah, let's just.
Is that thing foul? No.
I mean, that thing was just an absolute bomb off the bat. And you know what's interesting? Ian Kraft put this out. He's with the Royals department, the PR department, with the Royals bullpen there. Interesting stat. They, in their entire existence, have done this 3 times. The bullpen throwing 5 1/3 or more hitless innings. 1991 against the Brewers, it was 6 hitless innings. And then against Detroit in 1971, that was 5 1/3. Yesterday was the first time in club history it was on the road.
Wow.
When it happened. And this was a tie game and 1-run game or down by 1.
Right. They were trailing, then tied, then leading, and each guy that came in did their job. Or if they left it to somebody else, the next guy came in and helped them, as in Schreiber to Long came in and took care of business and got out of the eighth. So it was surprising. Like I said, as frustrated as I was Tuesday, that's as surprised, maybe shocked I was that they found a way to win that game yesterday.
Couldn't be more shocked if your head was sewn to the carpet this morning.
I am right now. That's right. Couldn't be more shocked if I woke up with my head on the carpet than I am right now. You surprised, Clark? You surprised? I am surprised, Eddie. So yeah, they found a way to. I came out of that game going, that's an incredibly solid win, that a good team finds a way to get one from another good team, to not get swept, and do what you got to do. Bullpen, MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell, Adam Frazier coming through in times, and just Hunter Renfroe also coming through and doing his thing, which I want to take a time out and I want to talk about. We'll discuss a little Hunter Renfroe coming up next, which I didn't think I'd be talking about in the context that we're going to be talking about Hunter Renfroe. We'll do that on the other side of the break, and there's an update on B.J. Thompson. And we'll give you that update as the Chiefs are getting ready to head out to the practice field less than an hour from now. We'll hear from them coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next. We'll talk with Matt Derrick coming up at 11 o'clock. Chiefs heading out to the practice facility or heading out to practice at about 11:20, 11:30 today. We'll hear from them coming up at 1 o'clock in their press conferences. But we'll talk with Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast coming up at 11 o'clock. 913-912-4810. Text says, what I learned from yesterday's game, I need to badmouth the outfielders and bullpen more often. Absolutely. That's the only takeaway. Is there any other takeaway from yesterday's game other than more negative tweeting about the bullpen and the corner outfielders? That's the only takeaway, right? At least for me.
I think it has to be up there, number one. I was trying to think of another thing you could blame or criticize more, but honestly, I think those are the two you need to.
Keep doing that.
Yeah.
The other side of the MJ play. Text says, MJ made an athletic play, but it was also a dumb decision by either him or the third base coach and a terrible play by Naylor. Let's not go nuts. Well, all of those things can be true. That, yeah, he was dead to rights at home. We talked about that. And if he was thrown out, that felt like the game. And we'd be talking about why was the contact play on when it's the shortest throw from, first, and how quickly he hit the ball, and maybe MJ could have made a decision that even contact play, oh, wait, I got to stop because that's might be contact play, but that's right to him. All right, I'm toast, and head back to third because he was out by a decent margin. If it wasn't for the bad throw and then the blind trying to sweep tag over at MJ, and because MJ read it, saw it, paused, and then went over the top and, made the play is, a credit to MJ Melendez. It's a credit to his athleticism and his awareness at that time. And it's also a play that may have given the Royals a win. Because if not for that, I don't think they win the game.
No, that was, to me, the difference in the game. We can always talk about Kyle Isbell's hit later on and maybe the bullpen being able to even things down a little bit. But I think you can also credit something. You can say that was a bad decision or a bad choice, but if you adjust to it and then make the acrobatic play, the athletic play, I think you can praise it a little bit. And it wasn't MJ's decision. I believe it comes from the dugout of it's contact play. Kyle Isbell's got to get a ball in the air.
Yeah.
I think you want to avoid a contact play. Just get a ball in the air, tie the game with a sacrifice fly, but he didn't. And I think the one thing a third base coach will tell you with a contact play, don't go home if it's right back to the pitcher, and B, don't hesitate. And he didn't hesitate.
Right, yeah, don't hesitate, and it gets past the pitcher, then you can go to the pitcher, head back, or get yourself in a rundown long enough that you can get second and third in the same situation with 2 outs if you're going to get thrown out. So it's certainly that part of it as well. Tex says, how many times have they been called out at home on the contact play this year? Seems like a lot. I feel like the Royals defensively have thrown out more runners at home on the contact play with the infield drawn in than it feels like the Royals have been thrown out at home offensively on the contact play on a hard hit ground ball to right at somebody.
It felt like early on in the year the Royals were getting thrown out a lot at home.
They were, yes. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe lately, and there's certainly that, beginning of the season feeling of a lot of those narratives that develop. But yes, that's the case. Well, let's hear from Matt Quatraro post-game yesterday after the game was over, talking about the MJ Melendez play, talking about his team finding a way to get a win, the bullpen coming through, Renfroe playing well. Here's Matt Quatraro yesterday after that win against the Guardians.
I don't know if he had much of a choice, right? I mean, the thing about those plays with the infield in, they almost never are going to get the blocking call, and it's an interesting part of that rule. I think what helped us there was Naylor hesitated a little. I think the ball right before it was almost identical. I know a different guy fielded it, but and we didn't go on the other one. Maybe there was just a slight hesitation, but MJ, that's incredible athleticism to be able to do that and still touch the plate. All those things go through my mind is, did he touch? Did they tag him? Because there's different rules and ways to appeal all those kinds of things. So, but clearly turned out to be a huge spot in the game.
How would you describe MJ? I know it's been really tough for him at the plate, but we've talked about he's been able to help in the field, and then today, that's a huge play for him. Yeah,
and he walked too. That set up one of the other innings. I've lost track of what inning it was, but it's tough. He's not swinging the bat the way he would like or that we would like, and he's well aware of that. Nobody's going to wear that more than the person that's struggling. But for him to compartmentalize there and help us win a ball game is huge.
Is he with the go-ahead run, but he finally comes through with runners in scoring position? Just what did you see with his approach there and being able to get that run in? Yeah,
well, Izzy played a good game. He had the really nice catch in left center. He had that play right there, or the hit that you're talking about. We got to think too that it's not been easy for him this last month. I mean, he's going out there competing at a high level, and he's been pretty beat up physically, mentally, all those kinds of things. So I'm really happy for him that he was able to come through there.
How did you feel Brady's start overall?
Yeah, I mean, they made him work. They made a lot of contact. There were balls that got through. I mean, that's what these guys do. I mean, they routinely put the ball in play. They found a lot of holes on him today, and we had to. Luckily for us, there was a chance with a well-rested bullpen there to not overtax him and make him go through that lineup again, because they're really tough.
You talked about it, coming back. I mean, they did it to you guys Monday. You guys do it to them. How does it feel to be on the other side of things?
Better, yeah. I mean, but look, every game is like that for the most part. You get down. You can't be out of it, and our guys really embody that attitude and the ability to just keep pushing, and it's somebody different every day, and I know they've gone through a lot of those too, and and that's why the teams are winning.
Do you see any fatigue with Brady near the end of that? I know it was only 70 pitches, but
no, I didn't think it was a fatigue issue. I just thought matchup wise and where we were and all that kind of stuff and how we were set up, I thought it was the best thing to do, but I wasn't concerned with his pitches at all.
Facing all it's live.
Oh, it is?
No, facing lefty hitters the entire way through that lineup, how tough was it for him to get the ball inside to them today?
Yeah, good question. I mean, you had a better vantage point than I did for where the pitches ended up, but he generally gets the ball into lefties pretty well. It's actually the other side that he doesn't pitch to as frequently. So I think some of those four-seamers, that was the goal, to go away and keep them straight. But I don't have a great answer for you on the locations.
So there's Matt Quattrero and talking about the MJ play and what Kyle Isbell was able to do. By the way, a tweet comes in from Jeff Skillman. Says, you could say Hosmer darting home was a stupid decision too, but putting pressure on the defense to make a play is part of the game. Yeah, I mean, if Hosmer was thrown out at home, it'd be like, why are you risking it, right? I mean, well, let's get him at home. Let's see what happens when they return home, and let's go win this thing in 6. But bad throws happen from even with big leaguers. Bad throws happen.
I think you can go back even one more year before that. Imagine if Gordon was thrown out. Remember the debate of?
Oh yeah,
remember, yeah. If he was thrown out,
which debate? Which one in Game 7?
I still get baffled by people saying they should have sent him, because if you look at the scenario, Brandon Crawford,
he's got
an
a great
excellent
arm.
shortstop, would have easily one-hopped it. If Gordon's thrown out by 10 feet, you know what the debate is for 100 years after that? Why the hell did they send him with Salvador Perez on deck, who had already had a massive hit, multiple big hits in the playoffs? So, again, I always go back to hindsight 2020 with contact plays. When they work, you go, man, that's gutsy. We say with Haas's mad dash, that took some stones
to
do that.
Stones. It's Hosmer, man. It's what he does. You expect that from him.
If Lucas Duda just made the throw, he would have been out. By the time Duda caught the ball, Hosmer's not even halfway home. He would have been hosed, and we go, what a stupid decision to do that.
He's just trying to force it. Trying to do too much.
Force it.
Hosmer's trying to do too much there. Come on, man. Instead, it's one of the greatest plays in Royals history to wait for the throw from third to first and then take off. And it wasn't Terrence Gore or Gerard Dyson taking off. It was Hosmer. Athletic, not the speed merchant that those guys are, and he was out. But it's also maybe some scouting of, I don't trust Lucas Duda to catch the ball, then make the throw.
Bless his heart.
And then for the catcher to catch it, swipe, and get me out. If any one of those things goes wrong, I score. It's a calculated risk that I'm willing to take. All that happening in like 0.5 seconds that he's got to figure it out.
Yep. And also, this loss, you send it back to KC with a day of everyone talking about that.
Like, why did
for
you
Game 6? and
looking
all
back,
the pressure.
Hosmer, did you feel like maybe you were trying too much or trying too hard there? But it's all, I mean, again, part of scouting. When Lorenzo Cain scored from first on, Hosmer's single to right field, it was scouting because they knew that Bautista throws it to second on those plays. Then instead of throwing it to the cutoff man, he throws it all the way to second. They had done the advanced scouting that was something that Bautista did. He, instead of throwing it to your second baseman coming out for the cut, he just airmails it to second base. And so Lorenzo Cain's coming to third, and they see Bautista getting ready to throw, bleep it, go, because he's going to airmail that cutoff man. And he did, and Lorenzo Cain scores on a single. So a lot of it is, scouting. And I don't know if there was part of it of, hey, contact play, especially to Josh Naylor because he won't be able to make that throw home. But first basemen don't practice throws a whole lot, as much as third baseman, shortstop, second baseman. Those are the guys that every time they field a ball, almost every time they field a ball, they're making throws.
Yeah.
And if a first baseman fields the ball, a lot of the practice is, all right, double play, I'm throwing to second. I got to take a couple of steps forward, throw to second, get over to first, cover the bag. There are some plays where you're throwing home, but it's not the typical, this is going to be your general shortstop to first, third to first, second to first, where they make those throws all the time, that if it's a hot shot back to the shortstop, it should be a good throw. It should be a good throw to the catcher.
And if I'm not mistaken on that Bautista scouting, advanced scouting, I think it was Alex Zumwalt, Royals hitting coach, that back then in 2015 with his role in the front office, it kind of began before that series, and I think actually in the regular season, Bautista does that, so kind of a little interesting factoid there. But I also think with the contact play, I can't live with it with nobody out. I can live with it with one out. Because if MJ's gunned down and it's 3-2 and there's nobody out, it's stupid. Just stay at third base and you'll have the top of the order coming back up with Maikel Garcia, who's going to get a ball into play. We at least expect him to. Now it was a double play right after that in this game. But with one out, I can live with it, because if you are thrown out, you still, or if you stay at third base, there's 2 outs then.
Yeah, now you have to have a base hit to
and
score.
you have to have a base hit. So I can live with it a little bit there. And also being aggressive against Cleveland, I think you have to be aggressive to beat Cleveland. If you're conservative in a spot like that, I think you're just going to walk away not winning that game 9 times out of 10. Because if you get to the bullpen and you're trailing, it's not going to be in your favor. That's the league's best bullpen right there. And again, hindsight's 20/20. If MJ's thrown out, it's a different conversation today. But the fact of the matter was, he wasn't thrown out, and he made a very athletic play to make sure it didn't happen.
I know we need to break, Dylan, but I wanted to get Jack's thoughts on this before we go to break. Is Hunter Renfroe good? 16. It's been 16 games.
Yeah.
The line that people keep going back to is May 12th, which is perfect because, since then he's been playing. We don't want to go back to May 9th because that skews the stats a little bit. But May 12th was a big day for the Royals this year because that was what everybody remembers, the 4-2 win against the Angels. I have no idea. But he's batting .290 since then, getting on base at .370. He's OPSing at .890. He's got 6 doubles, a couple of home runs, which would be a pace for 60 doubles and 20 home runs. But so he's not this guy. I don't think he's got a resurgence of being a career-high OPS. But through 16 games, I'm at least changing my view of when Hunter Renfroe's at the plate right now than what it has been through the first 50 games of the season.
And I think when Hunter Renfroe was really struggling, I never saw him as somebody that was going to hit 140 the rest of the year. I mean, even last year, it was a down year for him, and he ran into 20-plus home runs and hit over 200. And maybe this is just a month-long stretch in which he's been good. But for an outfield that's getting no offensive production, it doesn't really matter if it's sustainable or not. You've gotten him for a stretch like this. And for as tough as the schedule's been, you needed one of those guys to be providing you something. And yesterday, he got on base, what was it, 3 times? I know he had 2 hits.
2 hits
but
and a
his
walk
rate has gone up. The last time he started in a game and didn't get on base at all was May 15th. So he's had about 6, 7, 8, or 9 starts in a row where even if he's not getting a hit, he's walking. And I'll play the Billy Bean card here. Do I care if it's a walk or a hit? I do not.
No, I don't. Keep the line moving.
Yep.
And those guys at the bottom part of the lineup have not done that for the most part of this year. So if Nelly's swinging the bat like he's swinging the bat and you're getting more from Hunter Renfroe, the lineup is massively different than what it's looked like throughout most of the season. So we'll see what they can do. Is this they got the Seattle Mariners coming to town, then the Yankees. Daniel Lynch was going to start yesterday. He now starts tonight against Bryce Miller. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour next. Thompson, the update with him is that he is still in stable condition. His agent told Tom Pelissero he is unconscious in the hospital. Vital signs are strong, but right now stable, strong vital signs, but still unconscious is B.J. Thompson. The Chiefs will be out at practice coming up about 20 minutes from now. We'll talk to Matt Derrick about those things and other things going on with the Chiefs. We'll talk some NBA coming up in the noon hour. We'll hear from Louis Rees-Zammit, Jalen Watson, Steve Spagnuolo, and then Chiefs press conferences coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Jack, thank you for hanging out, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Anytime. I'll see you next week.
Hey, safe travels to Wichita, okay?
I'll get there fast.
Thank you. Jack Johnson hanging out with us. We will take a timeout, come back. We'll talk with Matt Derrick next. facilities. He is presented by Cap One Lending, the Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending, the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time, gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Matt, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I am doing pretty well, Jason. How about yourself?
I am doing just fine. So we are talking today by phone and not in studio because of the practice that is going on today. What do you make of with what took place yesterday and how the Chiefs are responding and still being able to go out and have a softball game last night, maybe take their minds off it a little bit, but we know that the latest with B.J. Thompson is that he is still unconscious, but he is in stable condition. But a scary situation yesterday that I can't imagine what it was like to be there and to see that going on with some of the members of the Chiefs to have that happen.
Yeah, a very, very scary situation, and obviously everybody's hoping for the best. It was, I think, a good sign last night to see a lot of the players get out in the softball game and do have a good time and kind of get things off a little bit. I can only imagine what was going through everybody's mind yesterday when that happens. Apparently it was happening during a special teams meeting. So with a lot of his teammates, I'm sure, were there with him. Incredibly scary situation. But, it's the sad thing is, and the unfortunate thing is that it's a business and the team needs to be able to move on. And you certainly hope the absolute very best for BJ. Everybody is. But they're going to get out of practice again today and kind of just try and get back to normal.
You wrote about this isn't the first time that something like this has happened with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'll be honest with you, it had completely escaped my memory of offensive lineman Tavon Rooks back in 2015. I wasn't here, covering the team and everything, but it is something that was, a story that was taking place, and I completely forgot about that. But it is another scenario, another situation where, trainers and medical staff, they're out of practice, and that's probably not necessarily what they're ready to deal with on a daily basis of, okay, I'm dealing with ankles, knees, bruises, maybe broken bones, and now I'm dealing with a seizure and then a cardiac arrest that was taking place.
Yeah, and Tavon Rooks, was probably even more of a scary situation in that he started feeling ill during a training camp practice in front of everybody, and it didn't affect the practice, and the fans didn't even know about it because he kind of just silently went over to the medical tent, and and they checked him out, and they're like, well, we might need to get you back to the facility, and that's when things kind of went south for him. But once again, the quick acting of the medical staff, the athletic trainers, the jobs that they do, and we saw it live on TV with DeMar Hamlin. These folks are prepared, and they go through drills like this even and training. A couple of years ago, we went through. They had a kind of an open house, and and Rick Burkholder kind of walked us through. What they do on a game day. It was mostly, this was originally designed for just, educating media on the concussion protocol and how they go about things. But Rick kind of, went into the whole business, and, just as far as what they do, as far as how they're prepared on game days, if there's a medical emergency and everything that they go through, and that they do go through drills just, to prepare for these moments. So, they are prepared for the knees and the ankles and the ligaments and everything of that nature that goes along with football. But they also know that other things can happen, and they're prepared for it. And I don't think there's any doubt that BJ being in the right place at the right time with a lot of people could take care of him might have saved his life yesterday.
Yeah, and the Rooks story, reading that again and realizing how scary that is, because it's with B.J. Thompson yesterday, it's taking place in a meeting and he has a seizure. So there really is no choice for him to, I'm just going to get through this. Right. It's everything is completely out of his control. With Rooks, reading that again, like that taking place at a practice and going, no, I'm trying to make the team. I got to fight through this. Like he's having a heart attack, not realizing that that's happening, but I got to fight through this because I'm trying to make the team. And he has a teammate that says, you know what, you need trainers over here, because he wasn't going to go to the trainers. And that's just sort of like it. That's an amazing thing to think about when, you've got to put your pain and things to the side because you are trying to continue your profession. Obviously, that wasn't the case yesterday with B.J. Thompson, but, reading that story and having things reminded, like, that's a scary situation because that's somebody trying to ignore his own body to make the team before somebody else says, dude, you need somebody over here to help you.
Yeah, but it's kind of the mentality,
Yeah.
And for better or for worse. I mean, I think it's that kind of drive that makes these players the best at what they do. But at the same time, I mean, trying to fight what your body is telling you, and the Rook story, it still just absolutely, resonates with me. I wasn't there that day. That was the year before I joined the beat, and Herbie wrote a great story about that and just what happened and talking with him and his family. It was very emotional.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, and hey, you do wonder what's gonna be like life gonna be like for BJ after this. It's the last thing that we should be thinking about, but I mean, it's inevitable. Hey, has he played his last bit of football? We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Hopefully
scary
not.
thing. I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
But your health comes first, and so I mean, he's got a long road back, absolutely, and hope the very best for him, though.
I want to ask a football question about him because, you mentioned there that, hey, who knows if he plays football again, and we both, clearly hope that he does, and if anything, just lead a healthy life, whether that's football or anything else going on. You just want him to make a full recovery. From the football standpoint, being a fifth-round draft pick last year, being a project guy, a speed rusher that was much on the lighter side, it's not like, technically real football that they're playing right now because, the pads aren't on. You're not really, going over those moves against offensive linemen, and tough to see what a development has been for him over year one and an offseason that he's going through right now instead of that rookie offseason. Was there anything you saw from him, like, size-wise to where, okay, maybe he is developing and he can be somebody that can, he's not Kendo, that he can make an impact or make a play or be a part of a defensive end rotation at some point in his career? Again, it's early in the OTAs. We're not at training camp or anything like that. But was there anything that you saw from B.J. Thompson before this took place yesterday?
Yeah, he looked a little bit bigger this year, and that was one of the things that the team wanted him to be able to work on during his first year and during the off season, was to kind of bulk up a little bit. When he came in, I think they listed him at 6'6", like 245. So he's still a big, long, lean guy, but he did look like he'd put on a little bit of muscle, a little bit of beef, but hadn't lost the speed that was his intention. I mean, that was what he was brought in to be. Would be probably a speed rusher, have that kind of mentality at least. And it certainly looked like it was resonating a little bit. And this does affect the Chiefs' numbers. I mean, right now they're down. This would make them down to, I think, 6 defensive ends. Not saying, and that's just, accounting for the fact that Charles Omenihu is not practicing right now and probably is not going to be available for a few more months. So, I mean, I thought that the numbers were already a little bit challenged at that edge position. I'm wondering if this might prompt them to go out and maybe look at the veteran free agent market. Maybe there's some players that might be able to help them. Hey, you're getting ready for the mandatory mini camp, so even though they signed McCole yesterday, I mean, it's not like a requirement that you go out and get somebody immediately right now. But you start looking at training camp and maybe bringing somebody in at the very beginning of camp to compete. I wouldn't be surprised at this point because they're getting challenged right now, and he would have been high up in the rotation. I mean, I think that he probably would have been at least number 5 for me right now in that group, and that would have made a team. So, I mean, he would have absolutely been a member of this roster, I think.
Do you think the Chiefs are seeing what they want to see from, mentioned a defensive end, but from FAU? He's a guy that, we talk about Omenihu and how quickly he can get back from the ACL tear, and, the Michael Dana re-signing him and what it means to this team, and Karlaftis going into year 3. But, FAU, a first-round draft pick last year, and did not have the season he was hoping for, and he was, injured through, some of the offseason with the hand injury and maybe not developing as quickly as he would have liked because of that and maybe held back. But do you think the Chiefs are seeing what they want to see from FAU in his first real, off season in the NFL?
Well, I mean, I hate to lean on the big old phrase, but they're not going to know until the pads come on. I mean, that is inevitably it. I mean, right now, I think are they seeing what they want to? Yeah, I mean, I think they are. I mean, he does look a little bit stronger than he did last year, at least a little bit bulkier. Once again, I mean, kind of like BJ, he's a long, lean guy. But, seeing him last night at the softball game was the first time I really got to see him up close since last season. And physical-wise, I mean, I think he does look a little bit bigger than he did last year. And that, remember, I mean, when he had the wrist surgery, I mean, think about just how much that impacts everything that you do. I mean, you can't lift weights, with that arm. You can't, get your bulk. So he was really limited until July. And the Chiefs, hey, they were able to get him out there in the early part of the season, filling for a Minihue, but they wanted last year to be kind of a redshirt year for him, and just a learning experience. And in the limited time of playing time that he got, I thought he acquitted himself well. There's no doubt. I mean, this is the year that they're hoping him to take a big step forward. But so far, I mean, I think you'd have to say, yeah, he's made progress. But we're really not going to know until the pads come on. You get until late July and August and see how he does when things get more physical.
It's an interesting point about the wrist because, we think of like a football player and a defensive lineman. It's like, okay, he hurt his wrist, but his legs are okay, right? The rest of his arm, that's okay, right? Like, shoulders and body, like that's okay, right? But then you see, the work that he's put in this offseason. You see the video of him and Karlaftis working with Tamba, and you get a reminder. Like, you guys see it every day, but you get a reminder of all of the hand fighting that takes place with defensive linemen and offensive linemen, and getting inside the pads and moving the arm one way or another, and having that healthy wrist. Because Chris Jones a couple of years ago was dealing with an arm injury, and it was like, man, he just doesn't look the same. Well, I mean, Chris Jones does the great push and then pull down and bye-bye, and with an arm or a wrist or something that's, not fully healthy and that grip, it changes a little bit of that. And there's so much of that, those moves on defense, even your legs and getting around the tackle, it's a lot about your hands. And just another reminder of, watching him and Tamba. And man, I love what Tamba's been doing with the Chiefs. I mean, it's just unbelievable with Karlaftis and the development there, because that guy was a freaking warrior when it came to hand fighting. Tamba was. And if there's somebody that FAU is going to learn from, man, I would sit down and just hang out with Tamba Ali as much as you can.
Yeah, and obviously he was so renowned for his workouts and how he improved himself through doing that, through martial arts and everything, to kind of pick up some skill sets. And the fact that he can hand that off now to a couple of new guys, it is huge. And you're right. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. We talk about your speed, the strength, but you have got to be able to use your hands and use them effectively in the line play, period. And that goes all the way up your body. I mean, that's why, hey, I'm worried about Joe Tooney coming off the pectoral surgery. I mean, you worry about him at his age and, how much of his old strength will be back there. That's, I think, obviously a concern, too. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think you're going to see a night and day difference with Felix. I mean, I think there's a real big opportunity for him to jump forward, because you just think about how much he missed last year of just the entire off-season program. And really, I probably wasn't even 100% still when he was out there playing in the first half of the season. And I know it bothered him. He wanted to be contributing more, and I don't think it was ever a sense of, disappointment in himself. It's just that he really wanted a chance to prove himself. And the fact that the Chiefs were so deep at defensive end around last year meant that he didn't really get a lot of opportunities. He's going to get his chances this year. I mean, there is no doubt. They need him. So I think we're going to find out pretty early about Felix, about where he's at.
Visiting with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. It's presented by Cap One Lending. I wanted to talk to you. I was thinking last night, different topics to talk to you about and things we haven't addressed and discussed much this offseason. And I thought maybe we would see Pacheco last night. I will say one of the more maybe disappointing parts of the softball game last night is I didn't see many offensive players out there that, I thought, where's the offensive help for the offense? And Pacheco not there, and everybody's got different things going on. we haven't talked much about running back this offseason because except for Clyde Edwards-Helaire signing, re-signing, is it going to be, J.K. Dobbins? Like, who are they going to get as a running back? But the Pacheco being number one was sort of that given. And I was thinking about it last night and I wanted to ask you, like, what do we think of year 3 for Isaiah Pacheco? Because first year in the NFL, he's, just trying to stay afloat, right? Trying not to drown, just tread water of learning the game as a 7th-round draft pick and him coming along in the Chiefs offense. And then last year wasn't a real offseason because he was rehabbing from surgeries. This is like his first real offseason, correct? I mean, if that's the case, like what do we think could be in store for Isaiah Pacheco in year number 3 in this offense?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to me. I mean, because this is the first time that you're right, that he's had a full off season and he's actually preparing to be the starter. Even as a rookie, I mean, he was only coming in here trying to take a grown man's job. He was deep on the depth chart. He wasn't like he came in and was going to be an integral part of it. I mean, he was a 7th-round draft pick, and he had to kind of fight his way up to the top and, fight his way to his chances, and he got there. Now, I mean, this is the first time I think you've really been able to see him kind of fully get prepared for a season. And the first time we've really, I mean, since his rookie year, we've gotten to see him at OTAs, but it's the first time we've gotten to see him as a starter at OTAs. And I think you do see there's a little bit more confidence there. I mean, if that's ever been a problem.
Is that possible?
I mean, if that's ever been a problem. But he's been very vocal out there. We talked last week about the kind of the chippiness between the sides, and Pacheco was doing a lot of talking, but it was good-natured. I mean, he had a smile on his face the entire time. That he might have been dropping some curse words, but he was smiling and laughing the entire time. I mean, that's what he does. But and I know there's been some talk about maybe he's lost some weight this year. He does look a little bit slimmer, and that's the one thing that the Chiefs have really been missing. And and you look at Pacheco's numbers, and you say, okay, well, he's a pretty fast guy. But at the same time, I mean, he's never had breakaway speed that we've seen on the football field. He hasn't had those big plays that Kareem and Damian Williams were able to post up. So, the question for me has always been, does he have the speed to have some of those big breakaway plays, that the home run plays that you really need? I mean, because his strength in the league so far has really been as a grinder. He's the guy that just doesn't get stopped for a loss. He always seems to pick up a couple of yards when there's nothing there. But the Chiefs need some speed, and that's the question. I mean, I thought that they really could have added some in the off season. Maybe they have. I mean, Hassan Hall looks like he might have some juice. We'll see if he's able to squeeze into the team there. I think last night, Jason, I don't know how much I know you had to take off and didn't see the full game, but you got to see the home run derby. And Luis Rezamet is an athlete.
Oh yeah, we stayed and watched the game.
You did.
Yeah, I just wanted to get out of the sun, Matt.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you were still there.
I just wanted to get out of the sun. My goodness, that dude. He didn't play baseball. I call BS on that.
And I had somebody, point out that in the UK you do play rounders in elementary school and PE. So. Maybe that's where it came from. But his hand-eye coordination and strength is just amazing. I mean, the fact that he was able to go out there and do that. I mean, because he swung at some pitches and hit a couple of balls out of the ballpark there that were, I mean, Salvi would have spit on those pitches. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were nowhere near striking out. There was like one over his head that he just kind of swatted at and knocked over the fence. I mean, the guy is just an incredible athlete. And I think last night, being on a completely different sport that he's just not real familiar with and doing what he did, that really impressed me. I mean, even in, his first at bat, once again, I mean, it was a ground ball, but he hit a hard ground ball that for a guy who professes not to have any softball or baseball experience, man, he adapted to it, because there were some guys out there who played a long time that looked terrible, Jason. They
looked rough. I felt bad for Trey Smith. He's part of the softball game, like his name's on it. But it did sort of look like he's never picked up a bat or a glove. Maybe since he was a child. I don't know. He swung like he was a small child at times, like his form. And my brother and I were talking last night as we're watching the game, and it's like Trey Smith on a baseball field, right? It just so out of place, and like he's so awkward at times. Yet the man on a football field is one of the best athletes out there for his size, speed, strength combination. And obviously they are two completely different sports, but it's just fascinating, like the skill of baseball. And yes, there's a lot of skill in football. We're talking about hand placement, technique for an offensive lineman, not just brute force. But, you know, he looks awkward on a baseball field, but yet he's one of the better sort of size, speed, strength offensive lineman guards in the NFL. It's just fascinating, that juxtaposition between the two.
Yeah, and talking to some of the offensive linemen last night, I was kind of amazed at how many of them were like, I haven't played softball in years, or was a little kid and everything like that. And then some of them looked the part.
Yeah,
so.
I felt bad for a couple of them that were there, and then there were some that were just naturals. Like Nick Bolton stepped up to the plate. You know, he got there late and steps right up, no warm ups, and just rips one. It's like, all right, Nick Bolton's played some baseball in his day, because he had a load. He had, his hips rocking, his hands right to the ball, and was just mashing. I'm like, all right, that's not just somebody that's strong. That's somebody that's got some skill, and he's put some time and work into it. So I thought that was pretty cool to see some of the guys that are like, multi-sport, right? You know, last year Patrick Mahomes led the way in home run derby. You know, like we know he's a multi-sport star, but some of these guys that are just, football, and that's all we know him for. Like there was some guys that are like, all right, yeah, there's some baseball background in that guy, and there's some baseball background in Nick Bolton, no doubt.
Yeah, and one of the guys that I would love to have seen in an environment like that was Dontari Poe, because I'm told that he was a heck of a baseball player when he was a kid. And you think of Dontari and you just think of this huge mountain of a man, but I think he played shortstop even. I mean, and Dontari was an athlete.
Well, his size, he played shortstop and third. With his size, I mean, he played left side of the infield, is what he did.
But there are some. There's plenty of incredible athletes, and there's some athletes that you just know. I mean, even though there's not that many, maybe there's no Bo Jacksons out there at all. But there are some guys absolutely that I think could probably just about play any sport. And Mahomes might be one of those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he just looks so fluid in pretty much everything.
Because now he's golfing at a high level. Like, what a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, and he's only been playing golf like for a few years now. So, there's some guys that are just like that. They can pick up anything pretty quickly. And for others, I mean, football's their sport.
That's definitely right. They found their spot, right?
Found what they do best.
They found their sport. I don't. Did we find last night that there's a new idea for condiment racing, like taking athletes in the game and having them be the ketchup, mustard, and relish to race? We should see that in baseball now. Probably not Bobby Witt. That would be unfair with Bobby Witt racing other guys. But take 3 guys off the Royals or whoever, and those are the guys in the condiment race. That made it so much more enjoyable to watch 3 Chiefs players race in the condiments.
That was pretty good, and hey, the Monarchs, condiment race uniforms are a little bit different than the ones at the K. So
That's right.
I like to see Kelvin Joseph in the relish outfit at the K.
That's a good point.
That would be a little bit more challenging, but
yeah, then you could probably race Bobby Witt, because now the playing field is a little bit more even.
And I know Kelvin was on social media, said he'd be even faster in cleats. So but that was just in tennis shoes. So.
I bet he would be. I bet he would be. Hey, last one on the running backs before we take a break. If you're looking at it right now, so we've got Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire. We talked to Louis Rees-Zammit last night at the softball game. Who are the 3 running backs? If they keep 3, maybe 4 if Carson Steele's a crossover running back / fullback, and we'll see, if that happens. But who are the 3 guys that they end up keeping? Because it feels like there are 2 definite, unless they do some veteran addition after a June 1st, or cap casualty, whatever, cut or release or something. Who are you looking at as to the 3 running backs for the Chiefs when they start the season?
Yeah, it is really a fascinating question, because it's going to be some puzzle pieces. Because, I think we are expecting that, hey, Pacheco and Clyde are going to be the top 2 running backs. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but and there's always injuries, but I would pencil those two players in for sure as your top two. And then it's a kind of choose your own adventure. I mean, because if Luis Rees-Zammit makes his team, then that is going to be – I mean, he's not going to be what I would say a traditional running back. He's not somebody that you would just say you're going to go into a game if you had to because of injuries and give him 15 carries. I mean, that's – I don't think what you're looking for. I mean, he's going to be more of a chess piece this year. You mentioned Carson Steele. He's in the conversation, but he's probably more the fullback body. So he's a little bit bigger dude. So he wouldn't necessarily be in a traditional running back spot either. If either one or both of those players make the team, I mean, then you're impacting your numbers at wide receiver and tight end as well. So that's why, to me, it's going to be kind of piecing it together, because if you then start talking about, okay, who's your traditional running backs? Who are the guys that you could give the ball to if you've got, and let's face it, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, the Chiefs have gone down to seasons where they've had 3 or 4 players who have been down, and that's where they've had to go down the depth chart. So who's next? I mean, I think you would give a little bit of the advantage to Keontae Ingram because he was here last year at the end of the season as business experience. Hassan Hall, just since really OTAs began and the offseason program began really back in April, early May, has probably looked the best of that entire group of next-tier guys trying to make their case. I've been really impressed with him. He's definitely impressed the coaches. I think he was kind of an afterthought before you got to May, but he has made a compelling case for himself. But Deneric Prince is also right there in the mix. I mean, he's if you were to look at the running back depth chart based on what we've seen through 2 OTA practices, and not trying to say anything I'm going to get in trouble with, Jason, with the stupid reporting rules, but he'd be high on the depth chart. Let's just put it that way. And I've been really impressed with Imani Bailey, but he's also kind of a different flavor running back. He's like 5'7", 200. He's a little bowling ball, but he's got some juice and some speed too. So I have no idea. I mean, I think it's going to be a wide open competition for those last couple of spots, whether they keep 4 running backs with a fullback type or with a chess piece like Rees-Zammit. There's going to be, I mean, that's going to be a ton of competition. I think of all the different positions where there's going to be some real competition, that left tackle, punter, I mean, are going to be, I think, 3 positions. And we're talking about third running back, so it's not like we're talking about starters. So maybe the others are a little bit more important, obviously, but that's going to be a tough competition.
Yeah, you mentioned Hassan Hall, and I just remember, covering him in college, and he was an amazing returner. So, that running back type that's also a really good returner that we heard Dave Tobe talk about. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and one more segment with Matt Derrick. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast presented by Cap One Lending. More right after this. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, hanging out with Matt Derrick. Cap One Lending is presenting Matt Derrick. He's from Chiefs Digest, at 41 is the Mike podcast. All right, Matt, they signed McCole Hardman. They bring him back on a one-year deal. Is this depth that, somebody that knows the system and, they are familiar with, they know his, pros and cons and what he brings to the table, or is it depth, or is this somebody that they are planning on having as their wide receiver group, that he is now one of the 4 or 5 as you pencil in? Because my thought is that it's a depth piece, and I'm not counting on him being definite in the wide receiver group, that he may, make it through training camp. He's out there, still out there, affordable, bring him in, and one of the guys that could make the 5th or 6th spot in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm plotting him into my tiers of competition goes, I mean, he would be in my second tier. He would be in that group that would be competing for probably 2 or 3 spots, but it's in that kind of group with Kadarius Toney, with Sky Moore. I think Nico Remigio has kind of played himself into that position. Justin Ross, Montrell Washington are probably there too.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of the top 4 that I would pencil in and say, hey, these are guys are 90% to make the roster.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised that they brought him back this quickly. I do wonder what it says. I mean, I'm not reading too much into it regarding Xavier Worthy. I mean, even though that's the player that I would say, wait a minute, if McCole Hardman's coming in here and you're going to be giving him OTA reps, minicamp reps, and even training camp reps, there's going to be probably some ones that you're taking away from Worthy. I'm trying not to read too much into it about that hamstring and just how maybe worried the Chiefs are. But he seemed to be, kind of an emergency guy as far as the Chiefs bringing him back. Maybe they got a little worried. Maybe they thought there was, that they just wanted McCole back and were worried that maybe there's some other teams sniffing around and now was the time. But it does make me curious about, what they're looking for, what they're thinking about. Hey, is it that maybe they do think McCole could be a returner, even in, with the new rules, even though, Dave Tobe's talking about maybe more of a running back style. Maybe they feel like McCole can play a role in special teams too. I'm not sure, but I'm in your line of thinking there, which is that I think this is more for depth. I didn't think that necessarily had a huge problem with numbers at that position, but and maybe it's just that some guys haven't worked out with what they thought at the bottom end of the roster, and they're like, wait a minute, you know what? Maybe we do just need McCole in here for some competition. He's good. He's a veteran. He's been in the offense a long time. He knows it inside and out. So maybe they feel like he's just a good guy to have in to help out some of the younger receivers right now.
One of the things that I thought too, and I certainly thought about Xavier Worthy and that role, along with Hollywood, guys that can stretch the defense, and Hollywood can do a lot of different things. I thought about Kadarius Toney too, and whether they would look at him as the same role or McCole and KT, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Kadarius Toney. I know that it is voluntary, but somebody in his position, I would guess that it would take something maybe out of his control to a degree to not be at OTAs right now. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's something that popped in my head too, of like, all right, we've yet to see Kadarius Toney at OTAs, and now they re-signed McCole Hardman. That might be if Kadarius Toney was going to be the 5th or 6th receiver, that might be McCole Hardman now, and this guy ain't even showing up to voluntary OTAs.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of on the same line of thought here, which is that it is voluntary, and it's not the same way that it used to be. I mean, even though people would tell you that, hey, the not showing up for OTAs doesn't change anything as a veteran, and for some veterans, it absolutely doesn't change anything. I mean, even like a Patrick Mahomes has earned enough right that if, hey, he's got some charity things that he's got going on or something for his businesses that he needs to, be away from OTA for a couple of days, there's no sweat. If Travis wants to be gone, if Chris Jones wants to be gone, there's no worries there. It is voluntary. They know about these guys. They know their work ethic. They know where they're going to be. And, and I'm not saying they don't know about all those things with Kadarius, but, I think it does get looked at in a little bit different light when a player like that, who hasn't been with the team as long, hasn't established themselves yet in this league and with this team, isn't there. I mean, I do think that there is a little bit of that seeps in about just, where that player is at and where the commitment level is. Now, we don't know. I mean, maybe he's hurt. Maybe he could have had a secondary procedure on the knee. We don't know. The Chiefs haven't given us any injury updates. We don't know if there's something personal that he's attending to. There could be very legitimate reasons why he's not there that we just don't know about. So it's a question.
Yeah.
But, hey, if McColl coming in, though, does kind of seem to me to resonate with the fact that something's not working out maybe the Chiefs anticipated, because even when they were talking about bringing back McColl, it was like maybe in training camp. So the fact that they've moved up the timetable and brought him in earlier, and like I said, maybe it's just simply that they feel like that maybe some younger receivers need another experienced guy. I mean, remember, you look at this depth chart, and who's the most experienced player that's been in this offense for a while?
Watson?
One, it's Cornell Powell.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the guys. I mean, it's been there. This is his fourth year. Sky Moore's year 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Watson year 3.
Watson year 3, and that's it. I mean, there's
Yep.
not a lot of experience in that room. So maybe that's why they accelerated the timetable, just to have another guy in there, especially maybe for now and for mini camp in particular, that can play every position that it can just kind of plug into, whether it's with the ones or the twos, and can help kind of facilitate the installation periods and everything. I don't know, but it does. I won't. It's not a 5-alarm fire, Jason, but I'm just saying that hey, something's piquing my interest that Cole's here this early.
Would Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore being cut this camp be all that surprising to you?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, because they're in that kind of that second tier. I mean, there's going to be some guys that are in that spot that you that you're thinking can compete for this team, but aren't going to make it. And you look at the back of their football card, and it tells you who they are at this point. Kadarius, I think they believe a lot in him. His biggest knock has really been availability. It's been staying healthy. And if that continues to be a problem in the next couple of months, I mean, that's going to hurt his ability to make this team. Sky Moore's been consistency. If he remains inconsistent, it's going to put his job in jeopardy if there's other players who are healthy and are consistent. So, no, anybody for me in that tier 2 that's to me less than 90% to make this team, it wouldn't be a shock if they didn't make it. I mean, the best thing Kadarius has got going for them is that all his money is guaranteed. So that's the thing. I mean, if you walk away from Kadarius Toney, and I know it's only $2.5 million, it's not much, but you're still just saying this guy is going to cost us this money no matter what this season, and we're saying there's nothing he can contribute. So he would be a little bit more of a surprise to me than probably Sky would be.
Yeah, because Sky you can save $900,000 with his 1.8 cap hit. It's like a $935,000 dead cap hit, but even with Kadarius Toney's, cap hit this year being 2.5, I mean, Sky Moore's cap hit next year is less than that. So you've got 2 years of Sky Moore being cheaper than Kadarius Toney as opposed to 1 year with Kadarius Toney left. We'll see. Last one for you, Matt, and we can certainly get more in depth in this as the weeks go along. But the scoop and score from the Kansas side, trying to attract the Chiefs over to the Kansas side and take their facilities and also stadium, dome over there. I'm just curious as a sort of a starting point, and again, we'll get more in depth of this as the weeks go along, but is there anything you think Missouri can do to match that particular offer? Because it seems like it might be a, no choice but to move to Kansas if you're the Hunt family and the Chiefs organization, with what the deal might be with star bonds and not having to go to vote and not having to put much money into it, as opposed to, having to go to vote, having taxes and sales tax and everything, and getting money from the state of Missouri, which is on record of a number of people saying we are not spending any money on a professional team and we've got other things we got to deal with here. Like, can Missouri do anything to match that right now?
I mean, Missouri's biggest problem is going to be that they've got to get sports wagering before anything else can happen. I mean, that's going to be an integral part of the Chiefs moving, because any stadium that's going to be built going forward, especially in places where sports betting and wagering is legal, that's going to be incorporated into the stadium. I mean, that is going to be a strong revenue stream for these teams going forward. So, that's one thing. I mean, Missouri's already behind the eight ball in that standpoint. The other thing is Missouri's behind the eight ball in the fact that they don't have a star bonds program like Kansas does. I mean, that has been so integral in a lot of development that Kansas has done, especially with, it looks like if the Chiefs end up in a stadium near the Speedway, but seems to be the conversation piece. I mean, that entire project over there was built with star bonds. I mean, that's an economic development tool that Missouri just doesn't have. And, hey, I'm a Missouri voter. I'm a Missouri resident, so I've got a little bit of a vested interest in this. And I got to admit, I mean, Missouri politicians just don't seem to be – they seem to be thinking that this is hey, the Chiefs are going to go out and find their best offer, and then they're going to come back to us and give us a chance. And that there's plenty of time, as Governor Mike Parson said the last couple of days, is that there's plenty of time. Well, no, there's not.
No, yeah. I
mean, the Chiefs, their lease runs out at the end of 2030. I mean, they will want a place to move into and start playing in 2031. It's not really that far off. I mean, especially when you talk about the political machinations behind the scenes that need to go on, because if Missouri is going to do this, they need to approve sports wagering. They need to get the funding mechanism in place. They need to figure out where they're going to build it, if it's still going to be at the sports complex or somewhere else. I mean, none of these things have been decided or even discussed. And by the time Kansas could have a legitimate, fully developed offer in a few months, and that's, to me, I mean, if you're Missouri, you can't wait until next year, especially just with the way things work in the General Assembly these days, and as clogged up as they have been, and it's impossible, it seems like, to get anything through. I don't see how you feel like you can, get anything done quickly. I mean, if Missouri wanted to have a special session on just, trying to get sports wagering done, one piece of it, to try and find a way to just get financing done. I mean, I think they probably would need that, because the Chiefs will probably have it looks like a firm proposal in hand in a couple of months.
Yep.
And to say to the Chiefs, hey, can you wait until 2025 or 2026? No, because they're going to be wanting to start building by then. I mean, you can't wait to start, moving shovels in 2027 necessarily if you want a new stadium to move into in 2031. I mean, that's just how these things work.
Yeah, and they would have until July 1st of 2025, the Chiefs would, to agree to the deals of the star bonds, or it'd have to start over. So that's pretty quick. If Missouri, Missouri's saying they've got time, they've got, 13 months before the Chiefs have to make a decision on if they are going to agree to the proposal on the Kansas side. So we could have an idea pretty soon if the Chiefs are going to Kansas or not, or what they may be looking for. We'll see. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, 41 is the Mike podcast. Matt, you're the man as always. Really appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the practice today. We'll see what all takes place, and we'll hear from the Chiefs later on in the 1 o'clock hour. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you, Jason. Take care, my friend.
All right, Matt Derrick, 41 is the Mike podcast. Check it out. Great stuff. And, of course, Chiefs Digest. He's presented by Cap One Lending. Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending. The exclusive loan helps you pay off your home in less than half the time, gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. More Zone next. All right, thank you to Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mike podcast joining us. Chiefs practice going on right now. Couple of updates. One, Xavier Worthy still not practicing. 3 in a row with the media availability to watch the OTA. Xavier Worthy has not practiced. He has a leg-length sleeve on his left leg. Also, a positive update. Chiefs defensive end B.J. Thompson is now awake and responsive. So earlier today, in fact, as we began that conversation with Matt Derrick, his vital signs were stable, were good. He was in stable condition, but he was still unconscious. He is now awake, and looks like things have moved in a positive direction. He is awake and responsive. We'll talk some NBA next. today. 1 o'clock, we'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Carson Wentz. Patrick Mahomes back up today. He'll be talking. We will also hear from Justin Reed and George Karlaftis. That comes up at 1 o'clock. You hear the NBA music going on. NBA Game 1 of the finals last night in the books, getting ready for Game 2 coming up this weekend. Joining us now, Grant Afseth, who covers the Dallas Mavericks, the beat writer for Sports Illustrated, and also with Hoop Analyst Net, joins us here in the zone. Grant, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about – that's not for you, right? Are you good? You good? Okay, good. It's passed.
No, I'm
it's
good.
passed. I don't.
It's somewhat oncoming.
Okay, I didn't know if maybe you were getting pulled over. If so, then definitely keep us on. We want to listen in to see what happens. But
for sure.
But let's go back to last night, and I'll just start with just a general. We see what took place, and we saw how the Celtics played. If you're Dallas, what do they do differently for game number 2?
Yeah, I think what they saw was the first half was kind of the peak of the Celtics offensive punch, where they're going to hit a ton of shots, open, not open, whether you're getting out on them or not. I think they're going to have to be very disciplined in how they're, approaching the three-point line, and also how they're containing drives. I think at times against teams that have really tried to spread them out, they've tried to turn to more of a matchup zone where the big stays in the middle of the paint, and then they really rotate off of those, elbows and boxes and make extra efforts. I think, they're going to need that from all players on the court, especially Luka Doncic. I think they really wore him out with their on-ball defenders, making him work. He had the ball ripped from him for breakaways numerous times, and then he, kind of let up defensively in ways that he hadn't in the playoff run that they've had. So they're going to have to really get, everyone providing that effort, and Kyrie Irving as well is going to have a strong bounce-back game. Perhaps they have him initiate more, so Luka doesn't have to face those, guards really getting into him throughout the course of a game and wearing him out, so they can have a balanced effort on both ends.
So was it, a physical presence with Kyrie specifically, because he has been brilliant throughout these playoffs, and he was amazing against Minnesota, and a big reason why this Dallas Mavericks team is in the NBA Finals. Was there an element of, trying to do too much, or trying to be, Kyrie of the previous couple of series and rounds, and getting out of his game early, and just didn't have it? Or just one of those nights where guys are not going to play their best basketball night in and night out, and, every single story, every single book, whatever chapter happens along the way, that last night's chapter was about Boston and Game 1 there for them and the Celtics, and then just moving on to the next chapter for the Mavericks.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the latter. I think, he picked his spots for a good chunk of the game. I think the Mavericks' base strategy, they stuck to it for, both ends of the court, and I think the Celtics were really well prepared for it. And they naturally pose that challenge where, they're going to kind of take you out of character. I think, Kyrie's going to have to, reflect on the film, and then, come back more aggressive like he has in other situations. He's had some disappointing first halves of games for, actually like a lot of the playoffs, he's scored at very low volumes, aside from that Game 1 in the Western Conference Finals, where he had like 24, 25 points against the Timberwolves on the road. So I think they're going to have to really try to mix things up, find that balance. And I think he kind of, obviously didn't make shots that he normally would make, and that's something that he alluded to as well. And I think they're just going to have to, get more creative, because they're playing a team that is of a caliber they have yet to face during this run.
Is there an answer for Jaylen Brown in what throughout the entire playoffs, teams haven't been able to find one, because he's on an incredible run, and just his physicality of sort of like, you're not going to stop me from getting to my spot. And they did the pick and rolls and got Luka on him a couple of times, and then because they've got those shooters there, it's tough to come off and help, and then it creates that help defense, and then trying to help and get back, and the ball movement. Is there an answer for Jaylen Brown? Is it that matchup zone that they go to a little bit different, instead of just trying to switch those screens and try to play on-ball defense against Tatum and Brown, who were so good at just putting their heads down and driving to the rim?
Yeah, I think definitely partly the matchup zone will have to be sprinkled in at times, and I think they're going to have to look back to how they guarded some of these teams that put them in similar spots in previous series, where Luka, had to sit down and guard. There was a time where the Clippers really hunted him like crazy, and he really held his own against guys like James Harden and Paul George. So I think they're just simply going to need to get more from their stars. Sitting down and guarding, and not just their stars, from everybody overall. And I think that's where, lightening the load for Luka offensively is going to have to play in, since all this kind of ties in together, where he has to have, that energy to be able to really, slide and contain Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or anyone that's trying to, get him on that switch and hunt him. Because that's everything you described. It boils down to, the point of attack defender has to be able to hold their own, or the Celtics are going to really spread them out and make you pay in a multitude of ways.
You ever seen anything like Derek Lively, no fouls at halftime, and then 5 fouls entering the fourth quarter?
No, that was wild. I think they went to more switching as well too, and then and he's handled that well recently. But it might have been that nerves of being in the final stage and all that typical stuff. But that was definitely a unique thing, because usually he does. Even for a rookie, he usually does a good job of avoiding that foul trouble. But, that racked up very quickly, and definitely going to have to, including him, really improve in how they're approaching those switches. But as a Mavericks team, they've frequently dropped game ones in their, Jason Kidd era. I think they've only won one game one out of, I forgot the exact number, maybe 6 total series or 7 total series that they played under Kidd, and that was the Western Conference Finals. So they're definitely going to have to really, lean back into that ability to bounce back in Game 2. And I think guys like Derek Lively are a very good example of where that improvement has to come, where they're going to have to, get past those nerves and then really, have a stronger performance.
Grant Athseth is our guest from Sports Illustrated, Dallas Mavericks beat writer, after a Game 1 last night. The story from the Celtics side, even as good as Jaylen Brown was, it was Kristaps Porzingis and his game, and not playing for 38 days, and certainly the Mavericks fans familiar with Kristaps. But is there an adjustment to Porzingis, or maybe just not expecting that his impact will be consistent night in and night out? It was a great game for him, but can he give that 3, 4, 5, 6 more times for this Celtics team? But is there an adjustment for that, or just getting used to maybe some rim protection for the first time maybe since that Oklahoma City series?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to have to start, in terms of getting him to guard in space, they're going to have to do a better job of, probably running more stuff like double drag screens and, running more like zoom action handoffs, all that good stuff, to be able to bring multiple players into the action and force, the weak side to make rotations and put his man maybe in that action. And that might help create advantages for, Dallas superstars to be able to turn the corner, get downhill, and create some advantages for themselves. I think they kind of got too stagnant, hunting switches and, relying on, just one-on-one breaking down, tough defenders. And that, that backfired in a sense. And I think offensively for Porzingis, I think they did what they probably can do for the most part, even against some of those wings where they just have smaller defenders that are trying to hold their own, get a hand up. And he was hitting face-up shots, shooting over the top at 7'3", that I don't really know too much about what you can do. And he's not someone that you necessarily want to, at the nail area, want to just put on the floor and, not have that help with the shooters that Boston has either. So I think they're going to have to live with some of that numbers game, as you mentioned, where you might have to just count on that not happening night in, night out. But he has improved a lot in countering, mismatches since he left Dallas. He was one of the most effective post scorers statistically in the NBA this season. So maybe that's not even a viable strategy when he's hitting those trailer threes and stuff like that. Within the course of the game, when you're already giving up threes, it's just a genuinely demoralizing stretch. Like, there was a stretch where they went up 20-plus, I believe, for the first time when, you had Jason Tatum hit a sidestep, Porzingis hit a trailer three, and then they hit a really contested corner three in transition as well, too. So that's the type of stuff where, you're going to have to maybe hope that doesn't continue to happen on a nightly basis. I mean, even in the third quarter that stopped happening, and Dallas outscored them after halftime overall. So maybe, you got to tighten up and then hope a little bit of that, regression to the mean or numbers game kind of plays in your favor.
Well, and that to me is like where game 2, I think, could be different than game 1, where it's just that regression, that, water finding its level. The Mavericks were 4 of 14 on open threes, and the Celtics were 8 of 19 on contested threes. I mean, if those numbers just simply even out to what would be the expected level, that's a big difference in the game. Contested threes obviously tougher to make, and the Celtics shoot almost 40% last night from behind the arc, and the Mavs shoot about 25% from behind the arc. And again, when you're 4 of 14 on open threes, I'm going to guess that that's not going to be something that will continue throughout the series. And credit Boston in game 1 because they made tough shots. And like you mentioned, there were some contested shots. But being 8 of 19 on contested shots from threes, that's tough to do in open shots, let alone contested. So that's one area that I look at and go, if game 2 is going to be competitive, I think just simply by the numbers of basketball coming down and evening out, that it's going to make it for a better game on Sunday.
Definitely, because that's been a situation where any team in the playoffs, you're going to kind of reflect on that game plan, and you got to stick to it and trust it to an extent. But definitely, if there are things where you see, from the offensive standpoint, where Luka's getting the ball ripped from him in uncharacteristic ways, and he's getting worn out. That's where definitely those strategic adjustments have to be made. But when you're getting a hand up and you're just getting 8 of 19 on those contested shots, definitely something that you kind of have to trust is going to not continue to occur. And if it doesn't, then that's almost the situation where you just ran into a team that's a superior team in your series.
Grant Apseth is our guest, Dallas Mavericks beat writer for Sports Illustrated. Who's the player or maybe players for Dallas that you look at and have to step up and play well after Luka and Kyrie? Is it imperative that P.J. Washington starts, shooting the ball well and, he has, good games? Like, who are the players that you look at and go, these role players need to play to their level if Dallas is going to, win, 4 of the next 6 games?
I definitely think it's every wing player on the Mavericks, starting with P.J. Washington, because with the cross-matching that Boston has done, you have to make them pay for doing that. And, you kind of have to get them to think about reverting back to a more neutral approach where, Luka can just run 1-5, ball screens more where, the center is guarding those, and that, activates Lively more as a play finisher as opposed to kind of, filling the dunker spot, being behind the defense and not really having actual, opportunities to score favorably. Because when they take away the center position on those play finishing chances for Dallas, that really disrupts their offense. So I think if you got to punish them on making open shots, especially when Porzingis is brought into the action, when Washington screens and he's getting wide open pick and pop looks, whether he's taking that shot or driving, he's got to be able to do that at a high level. Derek Jones as well. And then even the role players, I think off the bench have to step up too, because there was times where, someone like Jaden Hardy's coming into the game and he's kind of pressing and coming up with, unfortunate plays, like momentum swinging plays where he's trying to finish against Porzingis, who has very little chance to succeed. And when you're trying to get back into a game or build momentum regardless of the current circumstance, that's a pretty unfortunate, outcome when you're relying on a young player and you've given them a chance in a previous series and they've done well and they're kind of pressing. And they had to go back to Tim Hardaway Jr., someone that they were starting to give DNPs. So they're going to have to find some consistency and, actual contributions from their bench, because there was a huge disparity. I mean, obviously Porzingis coming off the bench swung the bench scoring in of itself, but definitely Dallas had very little results. Maxi Kleber is going to have to perform as well too, because if they're going to go to that small ball lineup where him and Washington are playing the 4 and the 5, they're going to have to make threes at a high level like Kleber has shown in previous playoff runs.
Well, I know that with the Chiefs' schedule, they won't get I highly doubt they will get the home boost from Patrick Mahomes in Game 3 on Wednesday, because that's during mandatory minicamp here in Kansas City. But Friday he'll be available, so I'm going to guess Game 4, Patrick will be there. at the arena for Game 4, a week from Friday. Whether that is the Mavericks, I don't know, trying to take a 3-1 lead or tie the series or whatever it might be. I think he'll be there next Friday. I don't think he'll be there Wednesday, though. So the Mavericks will have to take care of business without him in attendance.
That's definitely good to know.
They'll figure it out.
They're going to need to need that in their favor for sure.
They'll figure it out. I thought it was fascinating when they showed when Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Hollywood Brown were there at that game, and they showed Travis on the board, and everybody booed, and then they showed Patrick and everybody cheered. And I thought that was great. Like, booing Travis, he's a Chiefs player, right? Like him, don't like him, whatever. But Patrick Mahomes, even though he plays for the Chiefs and he's not a Cowboy, but being a guy that loves the Mavericks and is from around there, has he converted some people to maybe be a side Chiefs fan or a Mahomes fan outside of being fans of different football teams? Obviously, Texas Tech fans already there, but with his love of the Mavericks, that maybe he's ingratiated himself a little bit more with some football fans around there, seeing how much they have in common with their love of the Mavericks.
I definitely think so. Like, he's even showing up during, I think I saw him at, the Chiefs bye week during the regular season there. And I think, people love seeing him every time. And I think he's also at that level of greatness, too, where he kind of transcends, a lot of people's, typical, I guess you could say, feelings on, rival players and stuff like that, too. So I think it's definitely, a cool experience for Mavericks fans to be able to have him as someone that, supports their team as well too, especially so consistently.
Yeah,
because he's there. You can count on him being there every year for sure.
Grant Abseth is our guest. I know you cover the Mavericks and not the Lakers, but covering the NBA, I still want to ask you: do you think Danny Hurley takes the Lakers job? Before we let you go, final one for you: Does Danny Hurley take the Lakers job?
I think depending on the money, if it's there, I think he probably will. If I had to guess, but I think they're actually supposed to meet about that today. I think it'd be an intriguing fit, especially with how he's shown to, really be creative with his half-court, actions and schemes and all that stuff, especially for a team that doesn't have a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
And has some high-level stars to be able to run things. So it's to be very interesting if it happens for sure.
Grant Abseth from Sports Illustrated, the Dallas Mavericks beat writer, joining us. Grant, thank you for the time, man. Very much appreciate it, and look forward to catching up down the road.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I definitely look forward to it.
Absolutely. There's Grant Abseth. Good stuff from him. Sports Illustrated, Dallas Mavericks beat writer. And, rough one last night for the Mavericks. Great game for the Celtics in Game 1. Didn't have as much of the much of any drama in that game, except for when the Mavericks made it close. They got within 8. Luka gave a little look to the crowd, and then the Celtics went back on a run. And was it J.J. Redick that pointed out at the time, right before the Celtics went on the run, and said, man, it really feels like the Mavericks have expended a lot of energy to get it this close. And you see the next couple of buckets don't go your way, and then there's a letdown. Next thing you know, you're down by 20 again, and at that point, it was done. It was
like
toast.
holding water back with your hands. It felt like.
Like you're just trying to keep sticking your hands in the holes in the dam of trying to keep everything from overflowing.
Yeah.
You spent so much energy. They got within 8, and Luka had that look. It's like, okay, well, they're not going away. And then Boston did what they had been doing, which was knocking down shots, getting inside the Dallas defense, the straight line drives that Dallas wasn't able to stop. And with the shooters of the Celtics and as many threes that they take and make, you get a Celtics player inside the defense and you start scrambling, you're done. It's toast. You're going to get an open shot on that one from the Celtics.
It was actually funny. I was talking to Grant on the phone before, and I said, hey, Boston usually drops Game 2 anyway. You guys get them back. He said, actually, the Mavs usually drop Game 1. So it's actually setting up very perfectly for them.
Should have put a lot of money on that one last night. How about that? Like 1 out of the 7 playoff series in the Jason Kidd era that they've won Game 1, and that was in the Western Conference Finals against the Timberwolves. You get the Timberwolves going, really?
Yeah.
Really? They
got to learn to lose. Though.
Yeah. Of course, the Wolves couldn't win at home at all. So I mean, it just that was the resistible force and the movable object that were
exactly.
the exact opposite of what we usually see. It's the irresistible force and the movable. No, it's a resistible force and a movable object. Who's going to win there? And it turns out it was the Mavericks that ended up winning in a place that the Timberwolves just simply don't win in. And we'll see what they can do coming up on Sunday. You can hear it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And they're going to need a lot more from their role players And obviously they're going to need a lot more from Kyrie in that one. Weird, Kyrie had a rough game and Sterling's off today. Is that coincidental? Did he do that on purpose? Or
Boy, yeah, I didn't notice that.
It's interesting. Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and yet again, Kyrie's there in the NBA Finals with a superstar going, could I get some help by anybody tonight? Can anybody help me out tonight? And Luka's like, hey, texting, hey, LeBron, I get it. I totally get it now. I can't carry this entire team. Doesn't matter that I have a double-double and I drop 30. Doesn't matter. Doesn't
Even
matter.
went to Brad Stevens after and said, look, I get it. Okay.
Doesn't matter that I scored 15 of 24 points for the Mavericks in a stretch in the third quarter. Doesn't matter. I had to because nobody else was doing it. Can I get some help from anybody? And Kyrie's like, yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. I got you game 2. But tonight, I just don't play well in Boston. You saw my career here. I don't play all that well here. It's not going to work. We'll talk to Sterling on. I bet he'll be, if Kyrie goes off on Sunday, I bet Sterling shows up on Monday morning.
Yep.
I bet he's here then talking about
with bells on.
The clutch. Of course, his excuse would be, I said he's clutch in the fourth quarter. So, he didn't have a chance to be clutch in the fourth quarter. Yeah, because of the first 3 quarters of what took place last night.
That's like the old Tom Brady thing. It's like, he's so clutch in the fourth quarter. Yeah, watch all the offensive drives in all the quarters previous to that one.
Dude, the stat that they had of Tim Tebow, when it was like, Tim Tebow has more fourth quarter comebacks this year than Aaron Rodgers has the last 3 years. It's like, yeah, but they're winning 10-7. The defense is unbelievable, and he's having one drive in the fourth quarter, and that's like Rodgers isn't in the position that they're in at that point. They're just winning games. I just remember seeing that stat. I'm like, I feel like there needs to be some context to this. Like, it's not just that he's this unbelievably amazing, unbeatable quarterback in Tim Tebow. No, it's just that his defense was amazing, and they gave him opportunities. That one drive in the fourth quarter, you got it. Credit him for making that drive and making the plays that needed to happen. But also, there are a lot of quarterbacks that don't need the comeback. It's like the center fielder. Oh, what a great diving catch! Yeah. Beltran camps under that. So Beltran got there and glided and caught it. That guy got there, dove, reached out, tumbled, did a somersault, jumped up, and it's like, wow, what an amazing play. Beltran's just yawning while jogging back to the dugout after the inning's over. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Let's hear from the Chiefs. Last night we got a chance to catch up with a number of Chiefs players. Had a really enjoyable conversation with Louis Rees-Zammit. We talked with Jalen Watson and Steve Spagnuolo. We'll come back and hear those conversations coming up next. With different events going on, whether that be concerts or baseball games with the Royals in action, or it's, the All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The preseason schedule has been released in terms of times. Chiefs open up against Jacksonville August 10th at 7 o'clock. That'll be on 38 The Spot. You don't have to go to your Bally's app for that one. It's weird. You can just watch it on TV. That's cool. You can even get the. You don't even have to have cable or anything. Just get the bunny ears. You can watch that thing. 38 The Spot on August 10th. That's a 7 o'clock game. I was hoping that game, this is random, but I was hoping that game would be an afternoon game. The next weekend, next Saturday's game, August 17th, is an afternoon game. But the reason I was hoping the August 10th game would be an afternoon game is because the Royals are at home. The Chiefs are on the road. They're in Jacksonville. But that's the second of the 2-day homestand against the Cardinals. So it's the fourth of 4 games against the Cardinals. They have 2 on the road in July. And then August 9th and 10th, they play at home to the Cardinals. And the Cardinals-Royals game starts at 6 o'clock. And then the Chiefs and Jags starts at 7 o'clock. Now, it'll only be one drive for the starters, right? We know that. Mahomes, the last couple of years with the 3-game preseason, is just a drive. But there's an anticipation level to the first preseason game. First time you see the Chiefs out there since, they were holding the Lombardi Trophy. So I was hoping that would be an afternoon game and you could sort of do both, watch that game and then go to the Royals and Cardinals game, but didn't happen. The other 2 times the Royals are they're off. No, they're not off. They're in Cincinnati, but it is an afternoon game on that Saturday. It's a night game in Cincinnati on August 17th, and it's an afternoon game in Kansas City for the Detroit Lions game. And then August 22nd, the Royals are off, and the Chiefs play at home to the Chicago Bears. That's a game that the last 2 years Patrick Mahomes hasn't participated in Week 3 of the preseason. So the most you'll see from Patrick Mahomes in the preseason is Week 2. That'll be Lions and Chiefs, August 17th, 3 o'clock. That game will be on NBC, KSHB 41. And that's where Mahomes played, I think, the first half the last couple of years. Well, at least the entire first quarter 2 years ago. And last year he played a decent amount of that second game. So there you go. Those are the times. August 10th, 7 o'clock. August 17th, 3 o'clock, and then August 22nd, they play at 7:20, those last 2 being home games. Last night, we were up at Legends Field with the Chiefs charity softball game with Justin Reed and Trey Smith, and had a good time out there, and the home run derby going on. Stephen St. John did a fantastic job of emceeing the entire event, the home run derby and the softball game. Last year, the offense won by a pretty decent margin. The defense exacted their revenge, and they won by a pretty decent margin this go-around. But during the home run derby, we got a chance to sit down and talk with a few members of the Chiefs. And one of the more enjoyable conversations that we've had was with Louis Rees-Zammit. And here's that conversation from last night that we had with the Chiefs' newest rugby star, football player, kick return, running backer. Here's that conversation.
Right now, we are very pleased to be joined by one of the newest members of the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is Louis Rees-Zammit, who has been such a big story here in Kansas City so far. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. Loving being out here.
Do you know how big of a story it's been around Kansas City and you signing with the Chiefs and being here, and how much people are following each and every day in practice? So what's Louis Rees-Zammit doing? What's he look like? How's he transitioning into football?
I mean, I'm trying to keep my head down and try and focus on getting into the team. But yeah, it's great to have all the fans out here today, and I felt love from the first second I got here, so that's unbelievable.
How's your transition been so far? How do you think it's going for you?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, OTAs has been unbelievable, especially for me. Getting live reps on the field. Obviously, never been playing the sport before is pretty tough to dive straight into it, but I think this little bit of preseason or off season has been unbelievable for me.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to training camp now.
They've been talking about you and kick returns and the new rule being in the NFL with kick returns. Is that something you see yourself being able to acclimate quicker into the NFL and doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing rugby since I was 7 years old, and a lot of it is to do with kicking. So being able to kick return is one of the things I've needed to do since I was 7 years old. So yeah, it's been great to try and adapt to it. This early, and Coach Tobe is unbelievable with getting me reps, live reps on the field, and the more reps I can get, the better I'll get. So yeah.
Has it been hard to maybe switch over from some habits and things you do every day in rugby that are now football-wise? For instance, you haven't tried to drop the football and kick it while running, have you? You haven't tried that?
No, I haven't tried that yet.
I would like to see you try, actually. I want to see what happens.
I don't think I'm going to be allowed to do that. I wish. I've done it messing around in training.
Oh, that's great.
With a few of the running backs. But, I don't think I'll be pulling that out in the game anytime soon, unfortunately. But, it's, the habits of... to be honest with you, it's a completely different sport. So, I've had to develop new habits, obviously. But it's been great to try and transition into American football. And, the coaches are fully behind me and very supportive, which is great.
I want to ask him, I don't know if we'll ever a chance to ask him a question again. Real quick, while you're here, how many Americans have you had to explain to that being Welsh and being English are not the same thing?
Oh, wow. You've asked a great question. So many.
Can you count that high?
People,
he's from England.
From England. I'm from New Zealand. I'm from Australia. I don't know where I'm from now.
Let me see that accent. That's South African. I know that accent anywhere.
That's the one. No, I've had to explain to a lot of people, but it's all fun out here, and I'm loving being a part of this. A part of this city and a part of this team.
How's the reception been back home? Have they been following the story, back in Wales?
Yeah, 100%. As I said, everyone's been so supportive of this decision I made. Family, friends, to old teammates, old coaches, and then just fans have been great. So, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm loving the transition and the support I'm getting.
I first got to know you a little bit through the Netflix special, the series and the Seven Nations, and being able to Seven Nations, right? Six Nations.
Yeah.
I think America should be part of it.
Yeah, that's why you
Seven
obviously thought
Nations,
seven,
right?
Yeah.
We Americans, we insert ourselves in everything. I apologize.
No worries.
But the Six Nations, and I thought it was pretty cool because when they signed you, there were a lot of people around here that were like, well, let me go check that out. And I got into the series. Like, I'm sitting there rooting one way or another.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see, all of the stuff that goes behind the scenes in rugby and how big it is as, the NFL and sports here, how big rugby is for you, your family, the country, and what it means to compete in the Six Nations where, it's everything for, and you haven't had a wooden spoon lately over here, right? You don't eat with wooden spoons over here?
Not here. That's that's a tough subject.
But I was sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in the wooden spoon loss this year, but I've had a great experience with Wales, and rugby was my first sport that I loved, and growing up playing it, it's obviously the biggest sport in Wales, so the support is unbelievable. But yeah, obviously I think having that Netflix series about rugby, because not many people actually, outside of the UK, have really heard about rugby, but obviously that series was quite big in terms of promoting the sport, and obviously rugby it means a lot to me. So,
did you watch much NFL before you decided to make this transition over to the NFL? Were you a fan from afar? Like, how did this whole connection happen?
Yeah, I was a massive fan. My dad played American football growing up back in the UK. In the 80s, he never really dived into rugby, so which is quite weird. Being a Welshman, you automatically get brought up to play rugby, but he wanted to play American football, and from a young age, I've always wanted to play it as well. So it was just about the timing and when I was going to be able to leave rugby behind and do this new adventure, if you like. And now I'm here and I'm absolutely loving it.
Do you like the nickname Reese Lightning?
I mean, I got called it in rugby. Why not bring it over? It's quite funny, but I don't really mind what I get called, to be honest.
Do you have other nicknames that people call you?
I mean, Zam is obviously my surname, Zamet. Lewis. My name is Lewis, but it's a really confusing one because it's spelt Louis. Or you pronounce it Louis, but I've always been called Lewis by my family. So everyone calls me something different, but
Right, so it's Lewis, but I've been calling you Luis.
And
Reece
so
Summit, yeah.
everyone has, but
Yeah.
I
So
like
Lewis.
it. I like it.
Lewis.
No. You stay.
Oh,
my
how do
coaches
you want
my coaches call me that as well. It
Don't
sounds
take that.
better coming from your accent as well, which is good.
Have you had any lost in translation accent from yours and Patrick Mahomes and the Southern accent, like getting used to those?
I mean, American accents in general. I mean, I have to really think about what you guys are saying most of the time.
Because we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Lewis,
100%.
what is he saying? And you're
know.
going, what are they saying?
Exactly the same thing. I've had to repeat myself 100 times in camp. Yeah, I've it's been lost in translation a few times,
great.
but it's been great.
Lewis, thank you so much for
I
stopping
appreciate
by.
it.
We really appreciate it. Excited for you this year, and I know a lot of fans have been following and paying attention and everything, and awesome that the fans back in Wales are doing that as well.
Yes,
so
sir.
thank you so much
I
for stopping
appreciate
by.
it. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
What does he mean, our accent? We don't have an accent. We're just he has to listen into what we're saying in our accent. Like, look in the mirror, dude. I mean, there are T's in the word better.
Yeah, did you say
Not
I don't know
bad,
what y'all are talking about
Yeah.
to him?
Y'all.
Yeah, what are y'all talking about?
Great point, y'all. Y'all. What's y'all? Duh. You all. Y'all. You guys. What's wrong? Like, how about listening a little bit more? I love that. It's like I've had to really listen in to hear what's being said, and lost in translation. He's had to repeat himself so many times in Comp, the Netflix special. It's great. And how many people have said, "Oh, you're from Australia or New Zealand or you're English?" And
That was a great question by
then,
Adam.
And then
Great
it's like,
question.
South African. He goes, well, that's actually the one. That's the one, South African. Oh, Louis Rezamet, the South African, right? I can tell that accent anywhere. I didn't bring up the Ted Lasso of how many countries you got in this country. So the Welshman, Louis Rezamet. I was calling him Luis, but it's Louis, which the way I'll always remember it now is from Christmas Vacation, and Clark, Lewis, Uncle Lewis when his back was on, or his back was on fire, for the Lewis. So now I know it's Lewis. Reese Zamet, or Zam, or Reese Lightning.
As opposed to the trading places Louis.
Louis, yeah, right. And that's what he said. It's spelled like Louis.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, I guess, but But yeah. Also, he wasn't a big fan of me bringing up the wooden spoon. So if you haven't seen the Netflix special, the Six Nations, the team that finishes last is given it's a wooden spoon.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing you can have for your country, because for an entire year you got the wooden spoon. And it was talked about through the entire Netflix series about not getting the wooden spoon. And so that's why, said you're not eating because Wales got the wooden spoon this year without Reece Zamet on the team. People in Wales are connecting those, that he went to go play football in America and the Welshmen get the wooden spoon and finish last in the Six Nations. Their rugby star is not on the rugby team, and they finished last. So as he said, it's a sore subject. No wooden spoons right now, but sore subject there, which I was just sort of joking around about. You're not going to, I couldn't imagine. You wouldn't use why would you use a wooden spoon anyway? But certainly I wouldn't use one if it was part of the Six Nations and you ended up losing that one. Let's hear from Steve Spagnuolo. He stopped by and sat down for a little bit talking with us, and a really cool reason why Spagnuolo showed up to the softball game last night. Here's our conversation with the Chiefs defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo.
Joining us now is a man who does not care how good the Justin Reed is at playing softball or hitting home runs. It's a man that will play center field for his defense. Steve Spagnuolo is joining us here, defensive coordinator. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is good to see you, Jason. This is a great event. I was able to shoot over here last year, and I thought it was terrific.
Yeah.
Although I didn't think we had very much baseball talent on defense.
Well, I heard the offense performed well last year.
They did. Patrick led the charge there. Now, thank God for us. I don't see Patrick yet, so
I haven't seen him.
Maybe we'll get him. Maybe that'll help us out a little bit on defense.
Yeah, I have not. Are you coaching over here?
No,
I'm
here.
Base coach, first base coach, something.
I'm a fan. I'm here in support. I just wanted to come over and see the guys. You already know, Jason, what happened today, and so I just wanted to make sure all the guys were doing well. I mean, it was BJ went through something that was tough today, and the guys handled it really well, and Rick Burkholder and his staff and the people and the doctors were terrific. But my prayers are thinking about BJ right now.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I said, I want to go over and be around him. around the guys here. So.
How's everybody doing?
Great. I think this is good for our guys.
Yeah.
You know, having gone through that, I think they're thinking about BJ as well. And you know, right now things look really good. So just keep our fingers crossed and keep praying.
Absolutely. Steve Spagnuolo is our guest. How are you seeing some of these newer guys, the rookies come along? We talked with Jalen Watson, and besides him being excited about having another Cougar there to take on the UW guys, he was looking at it and saying he said the sky's the limit for him with all the things that he can do. He's just one of the guys that are joining this team. What are you seeing from some of these new guys?
Well, you know, for me. This kind of football, let's call it, right? This is hard. There's a lot of things we can't do.
Tom Melvin was like, somebody asked him, "What do you think of the tight ends?" He goes, "I don't know. We're not playing football right now."
You know, I don't want to say it that way because we do get a lot accomplished. But right now, it's an evaluation of how quick they pick things up, how hard they work. You know, are they committed? I look for study habits, work habits. You know, personalities. I'm kind of evaluating that, and along with that, we've got some football evaluation, obviously. But until we put the pads on and can do certain things. Like right now, we really, as in the secondary, we're not touching receivers, and we're a press team, so we're not really seeing that. So we got a long way to go to evaluate. It's encouraging. Big thing is keep everybody healthy. You're just talking about Jalen Watson. We got to get him back.
Yeah.
Hopefully NJ stays healthy. So a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, well, Jalen said he was going to participate but just swing one-handed. He said you would be totally fine with it.
Yeah, hey, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
He did not say that.
I tell you what, speaking of that, it made me think of so Porter Elliott, you know, one of our offensive coaches, you know, he's got the left, but he was a great athlete. And played baseball with one hand, and caught and threw it the same way. I had a conversation with him one time. I think Porter Elliott is one of the most intriguing people I've ever met. And I guarantee he could come out and play better than all of these guys.
Well, watching some of the swings, I mean, Justin Reed, his first 4 swings, he didn't make contact with the ball.
He was trying to cool everybody off. It's really
right.
hot here.
Well, I would appreciate it. That'd be very nice of him to do. You know, typically he's known for big hits, and that did not happen when he was taking his
different kind of big hit, right?
No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
They stuck you right in the sun here, Jason. You're gonna melt here.
That's okay. There are worse things in the world. I could not be here at all. You know, there are much worse things going on. Steve Spagnuolo is our guest. Did you play much softball or baseball?
I was a high school baseball player. That's about as far as it went, but enjoyed it, loved it, won a state championship. You know, that was fun. I mean, it was really fun. Baseball's fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to be able to play it now. I'm too old and can't throw, but I think it's a fun game.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo is our guest. So who actually has the advantage when these things take place? Because we hear the offense going, well, the defense has the advantage because they know we're passing every time. The defensive players.
You're talking about in the OTAs?
In the OTAs, yeah. Offensive players, they have an advantage. They know we're passing every time, and the defensive players like, well, they have an advantage because we can't touch them. We can't do so. Who really has the advantage in these practices?
Probably going to no comment that one. That's I mean, you know, you can't touch the quarterback. You can't press receivers. I mean, I'm not sure where the advantage is for the D, but. I'll just let them roll with it. We're all going to use excuses when they're not doing good, right?
That's amazing. Yeah. I think the offense has the advantage. All right, let's
I kind of feel the same way, Jason. I'm glad you see it that way. I'm glad you see it that way.
You can't touch the quarterback. I think Dave Merritt said, well, how do we have an advantage when they've got a guy over there with a gold jersey? So, that's somebody we cannot touch.
And someday he'll have a gold jacket, so that makes it even tougher, right?
That's absolutely right. How quickly do you recognize some of the players and what they may be, like the intelligence factor of being able to pick things up? Does that happen quickly where you see, okay, this guy might be a little bit different? You guys talked about Trent McDuffie when you first got him and things like that. Can you see it right away of what they?
I think you can tell certain things right away. Like you know, there's certain intelligence, and when you're in a meeting and a guy's spitting it back to you, that's one part of it. But that's not the whole picture because you've got to go out there and react to a lot of different things and think on your feet. And sometimes guys are really good with the notebook and they can spit it back to you in the meeting room, and then they go out there and it just moves too fast.
Yeah.
And that's the part that we don't know yet. But I mean, the speed of the game just goes up and up, and I'm anxious to get our guys up at training camp, get pads on, see what it's really all about. Make some evaluations.
Steve Spagnuolo, our guest. Steve, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
My
man.
pleasure to do it, Jason.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here and helping our guys do this.
No problem. There's Steve Spagnuolo. Great stuff from the Chiefs defensive coordinator.
So there you go. Steve Spagnuolo joining us. Won a state championship in high school, so yet another ring to his collection. Yeah. That was an interesting conversation with sunscreen in my eyes while I was trying to talk to Steve Spagnuolo. I played through it. Okay, sometimes you got to play injured. Sometimes you got to play in pain. Okay, we'll take a timeout. Come back. Wrap up this hour. Hear from the Chiefs coming up at 1:00. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour, we'll be back in here from the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid will be talking. We'll hear from Carson Wentz. We'll hear from Justin Reid. All right, here's Andy Reid right now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Carson, who had the medical emergency yesterday. We had started a special teams meeting. He had a seizure during the meeting and then eventually went into cardiac arrest. Just as a side note here, the NFL mandates that we do these emergency action plans for every team in the league, home, away, in your practice facilities. And then we're mandated to practice multiple times a year. Ironically, we practiced on Monday with a group called Walters Incorporated, who comes in and educates us and goes through scenarios like we went through yesterday. With BJ, when he had this seizure, Butker immediately ran towards the training room and grabbed Julie Freimeyer and David Glover, and then grabbed me. We went into the room. Eventually, Tiffany Morton and Evan Kraft came in, as well as with this facility, we have a doctor's office down the hall, and Dr. J.P. Darsh from Kansas University Health System was there. He came up and assisted, and as a team, we tried to stabilize BJ and then put him on the floor while he was still seizing, and then he went into cardiac arrest. So our team of that group of people provided CPR for him. He had one AED shock and came back, so he was only in cardiac arrest for probably less than a minute and a half. Our players, our security staff, everybody involved, coaches, staff, they were phenomenal in handling the crisis. We then turned him over to KC Fire Department and the paramedics. Those paramedics do those practice sessions with us, so there was some familiarity there with those guys. And then he was taken to KU Hospital, where he was heavily sedated yesterday through the night, and then he brought him out of the sedation this morning. He was on a ventilator overnight just so he could breathe because he was so heavily sedated. That's all out. He's alert. He's awake. He's coming through quite well. We don't have a diagnosis, and in medicine sometimes you don't have that. And then, like I said, he's awake and alert, and he's headed in the absolute right direction. So all things good in a little bit of a hairy situation. But I thank you for your attention.
Thanks for thank you.
All right, that was Rick Burkholder, obviously. So an update on everything that took place. That was really interesting, and they were told there will be no follow-ups with Dirk Burkholder, but the cardiac arrest was about a minute and a half. But here's Andy Reid.
What was your involvement?
Yeah, well, I was able to be right there. I mean, I jumped in there and just from my office. So I came down and popped in. Not much help. They had it under control. So, but that's tough. I mean, that's a tough situation. I've had, we've been through a couple of those before in my time, and it's never fun. Thank goodness, though. I mean, if it had to happen, no better place than right here, where you have the support unit that knows what to do. So
did you get the whole team together and kind of fill them in a little bit?
Yeah, afterwards, we had a team meeting after he was released at 9:15ish, right in there.
How beneficial is it for the guys to be able to just kind of get back to routine today and get back to football?
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it was good to get them out of here yesterday, and we've got support people here that could help them, and if they needed it for what they saw. That's not a real pleasant thing to see and watch. So that was available for them, and then they came back today with good energy, and we've kept them abreast all the way through, even right to the end there of practice.
I know special teams meetings can be, most of the team. Was it a lot of players?
Yeah, it was most of the team. Yeah.
Andy, when Rick said that you guys go through that, does that mean the players are included?
No, so the medical staff, they do it, and they have different situations they have to go through, and it's a drill session, and it's an event. I mean, it's something to watch. It's pretty spectacular.
So Harrison basically just reacts on his own. It's not some drill he's been through that you guys can get.
No, we know that. No, that part the guys know. Rick talks to them enough to where they know. Get the trainers faster, and they were pretty close by because it was getting close to team meeting time. So
during OTAs, you seem to like to always look forward a little bit to the year. I guess maybe it was the Ravens a little bit that you were looking at today. Just how beneficial is that? Getting a look and kind of maybe it's just more of a scout team environment.
Yeah, it's a good introduction. It's a change up also, but it gives you a little bit of a jump start. Are they going to do exactly what we were practicing today? they're going to have wrinkles in there that you've got to be able to adjust to. But just to go back through and review the AFC West and your first opponent, I think is, it's a good thing. And a good change-up for the guys.
Coach, it seemed like two potential starters, Hollywood Brown and Jalen Watson, have been limited. What's their status right now?
Yeah, they've got muscle issues there. So Hollywood is further along. He did a little bit today, so worked it a little bit.
Andy, there's a story out there, as you probably heard, that Rasheed Rice was involved in a shooting at SMU before he was drafted by the Chiefs. Did the Chiefs know about that story before?
Yeah, the way I'd leave it with you, Adam, is we knew enough to draft them, and then we just went with the process, and we found that it was satisfactory for us. So.
Coach, with minicamp next week, what's important for you guys to get accomplished before the guys go away, before training camp?
We're throwing a ton at them, as you know, and so we've gone back and blended these last couple days. So we're giving them the AFC West and the first opponent, but then we start back day one with the installs from there, and now they've got to learn after 10 installs. They've got to go back and regurgitate all that stuff, and so it's a whole process there. But they've done a nice job with it. It's great for the young guys. Mostly the veteran guys, they have a pretty good feel for it, but the young guys, it's a challenge.
We'll go across from. Let's go, Todd. New face, old face out there today. McCole Hardman back with you guys. What can he bring for you? And it's like he had quite a bit of energy when you hear him talking like the old.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, he brings good energy, and it's good to have him back out there. I think we know how to use McCole, and I think McCole knows that we know how to use McCole in his best way. So, and he's a smart kid, so he's a good learner that way, and he's a light player to the other couple guys that we have. Speed, not the biggest guy, but speed guy. So, you like those light components.
Emily?
You went to the White House last week, and I just kind of want to know the comparison between the food between last year and this year, and what was your favorite?
Yeah, they do a great job. I had a chance to meet all the chefs, and they do a heck of a job back there. So I would say it's a jump ball between the two, between the 2 years. It was all good.
And what was your favorite, food, I guess?
They had some fish, some fried fish that was like fish tots. Everything was bite-sized, so that gets dangerous.
Adam, close up.
Andy, just to follow up on the Rice situation, you said we knew enough to draft him. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Yeah, I'll probably leave it right there. Yeah, I'll leave it right there for you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay,
thank you so much.
All right, there's Andy Reid, and that's the first time we've heard Andy weigh in and be asked about what some of the reports were out there in the pre-draft process that we didn't find out until after the fact, until the incident took place in Dallas with Rasheed Rice and the racing, that there was an incident back in Dallas when he was at SMU that involved guns and shooting, and whether Rice was involved or not. But Andy Reid said, we knew enough to draft him, went through the process, and we found it satisfactory for us. Here's Carson Wentz.
Has it felt like that? I mean, how's it going as far as just picking everything up?
Yeah, it's been fun. Honestly, I love kind of just learning. The last couple of years I've got to learn a lot of different football, a lot of different playbooks. So loved kind of diving into this and seeing the uniqueness of it. Like you mentioned, and like I mentioned a while back, there's a handful of similarities and carryovers in some terminology, but just kind of the evolution of it and how they've done some really cool things here with different pieces. So I've enjoyed the process, and it's a cool system.
Carson, what stands out about Patrick, and particularly the way he handles this time of year?
This time of year it's different for everybody, but just seeing him live in practice, he just processes the game really quick, and you can see that coming in. The way he calls the protections, he's in and out of the huddle, he's throwing anticipatory throws, like all that stuff you see from afar, but it's just fun to see it. In some respect, just see different windows on plays that maybe you didn't see before because he's just, he's playing so quick out there. So it's fun to see from back there.
Can you speak to
fit, just how well Nico Remigio has been playing this camp. He's seemed to be stuck out in our looks.
Yeah, he runs all day, I can tell you that. He's been fun to get to know a little bit and on the field as well. And yeah, he looks really good out there. He's fast. He uncovers well versus man coverage. And like I said, he can run all day long. You know, we have days out there where we're down some receivers or this, that, and the other, and it's just Nico's just out there running all day long. So a lot of respect for what he's done so far.
You've been to several camps, as you mentioned. Anything stand out? And this isn't a real camp yet. There's no contact and all that. But just competitiveness-wise, how it seems to us when we watch it, there's a lot of spirit between the two sides.
Yeah, I'd say similar to what I've experienced. You know, I think it's just a mutual respect across the ball, you know, for each other, and just how do we get better this time of year, but also, you know, push each other, but keep each other healthy, keep each other safe. You know, work together, so to speak. We're not the enemy of each other, even though it might feel that way in some team competitive drills. But competition is high out there, but guys, you know, really kind of maintain it and kind of keep it between the whistles and all that stuff. So it's been pretty good.
Carson, you came into the league as a starter. You were a starter for a number of years, and now you're making that transition, at least for this year, to be a backup. What's that process been like for you?
It's different. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely different, but at the end of the day, I'm still approaching it to be ready. You know, at the end of the day, that's kind of my mindset. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as quick as I can, formulate a relationship with all these guys, and just keep getting better on the field. You know, at the end of the day, that's the mindset you have to have in this league. You got to always be ready to go and when called upon. So that's no different, I guess, in that regard. But you know, you go out to practice and you're with the twos or you're going scout team. That, you know, it is different. But I'm just trying to get better and take it one day at a time.
In that kind of same vein, I mean, have you kind of figured out what your role is and what your voice needs to be as far as being in the quarterback room and helping Pat, whether it's breaking down film or any other elements of the job?
Yeah, I mean, we're still obviously early. You know, we're only in here a handful of hours every day and a couple days a week, and it's not quite the grind that it will be. So that'll keep evolving and kind of how I kind of find my place, so to speak. But Pat and I already have a great relationship, and you know, that'll keep growing, and I'll keep finding ways I can help. And you know, there's no lie, the dude's been playing extremely high level for a while, so you know, I'll find a way to help in whatever way I can, whether it's off the field, on the field, whatever. So and just here to help and support.
Couple more guys.
What stood out most dealing with Matt Nagy for the first time?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely sharp football mind. That's the fun thing about being here is there's a lot of good football minds upstairs, and you know, lots of creativity within the offense, and Coach Nagy's, you know, definitely at the forefront of a lot of that with Coach Reed, and just everybody's got different strong opinions on things, but also sees the game in a really neat, kind of unique way, and utilizes guys' skill sets really well. I think that's what I've seen from afar for years now, but coming in here, I can tell there's really an emphasis on, okay, what do guys do well, and how can we kind of cater to that and bring it to life, and it's been cool to see.
Given your veteran status in the league, obviously being a quarterback, you have the responsibility of the rest of the guys, but is it somewhat unique to get to know Lewis, knowing that he's never played in football traditional game before?
Without a doubt.
Is there a sort of responsibility you feel to try to get him prepared as much as possible, given that, you know, he'll probably be on the field with you quite a bit in the preseason?
Yeah, I mean, there's this time of year, sometimes out there it looks like organized chaos at times. So, you know, we're trying to, you know, you see that team drill at the end, like it's just fast, chaotic. So guys are trying to work together, help each other out as much as we can, and then in the locker room getting to know each other off the field so we can form that relationship. So there's, you know, open dialogue for both on the field and off the field stuff. And it's been cool to see him just kind of start picking it up and play ball. And I'm really excited to see him once we get to preseason actually, you know, get hit, you know, break some tackles and just kind of cut it loose. So it's just been impressive to see kind of how quick he's picked it up.
Last one, anybody?
Just in first impressions of just the city of Kansas City, you know, you're a Midwest guy. So.
Yeah, love it. I mean, just the culture, the values, everything that me and my wife, our family kind of stand on just kind of makes us feel right at home. You know, the fan base, you know, I've played at Arrowhead a couple times, and I appreciate the fan base now on my side. And so it's definitely been a cool city to kind of just get to know in my, you know, first, whatever, it's been 6 weeks here, and look forward to continue to explore it and be a part of the city. Thank you guys.
All right, there's Carson Wentz. We'll hear from Justin Reed. We'll also hear from George Karlaftis and see who else may be at the podium today with the Kansas City Chiefs. But we've heard from Rick Burkholder. He gave an update on what took place with B.J. Thompson. We heard from Andy Reid. And there, Carson Wentz. Here is George Karlaftis heading to the podium right now.
First first, just take us through emotionally what you guys all went through yesterday with BJ's situation, and what was that like? Just and how are you now? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm just glad to see that he's doing good. And when you have a guy go down like that, you never want that for anyone. And, it's hard, but I will say this: he was, we're blessed to have such great teammates and athletic trainers that helped him, and we're able and ready for that situation. So, I'm hoping and praying for a speedy recovery for BJ.
I know it's special teams, but were you in the room?
I was not.
Okay.
So what's camp been like?
It's been great, going on year 3 now. It's been awesome, just to be able to have more experience under my belt. We have a very similar group of guys, defensively and in the defensive line room especially. So it's been great.
There was a little uncertainty as to whether Chris would be back. I guess just when that news finally came through.
I mean, that's my guy, man. So I was over the moon, man. It's my guy. We all love Chris in this building, and I'm glad he's back with us and he's going to be with us.
What was your communication with him, if you remember when the news came through?
I mean, a couple hours before it came out, we were just talking like nothing had happened, and just because it's we're friends at the end of the day, So and then it just came out, and I was so happy for him, man.
We see that Felix is now working with Tamba.
Absolutely.
Also, so did y'all connect him, or did you connect him, or did you bring him in?
Yeah, there was a connection, and then we all 3 started going, and we got Master Dave out there doing jiu-jitsu, and it's great, get up early in the morning and go work on your stuff. So that's been great to do whenever we get a chance.
Have you seen the kind of improvements in his game so far?
Absolutely. I think Felix is, you could see the difference and how much improvement he's made from year 1 to year 2. He wants it, and I think there's great things ahead of him.
What have you learned from jiu-jitsu besides anything that helps you on the football field?
I mean, I grew up wrestling. I had judo background a little bit growing up and stuff. So, jiu-jitsu really helps with a lot of different things. At the end of the day, it's some exercise, but it also teaches you a lot about leverage. It teaches you about yourself, really, when you're put in a defeated position, and it humbles you too. So, I could go on and on, but that's at the core.
Couple more. Obviously, Tamba was well known for his handwork, and that's a lot of what you're working on. Last year, Felix, had that wrist surgery, and really, I mean, this time of year wasn't doing any football work because of it. How much of a difference have you seen just in that part of his game from a year ago?
Just like I said, it's been night and day, for him to come out, just like you said, last year he was dealing with a couple things, and now to see him, having a year of experience under his belt and an off season and all that kind of stuff, he was a great addition, he is a great addition, and I think he's going to be great for us this year.
George, did you switch anything up about your off season in preparation for year 3?
For me, I don't really like to publicly speak on what I do in the off season, but got a couple things that for me, I always like to reflect on what I need to do better and be very critical of myself in order to get to where I want to be and help this team win more Super Bowls at the end of the day. So that's what it was all centered around.
I know the process on both sides of the ball is to break the whole strategy down and build it back up. Is that the same way you approach your own strategy?
I mean, to an extent, yeah. For me, it's always about chasing improvement in everything that I do every single day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there's George Karlaftis, and a lot of that hand work. We talked with Matt Derrick about that earlier in the show of Felix and Udike Uzama, a year ago at this time was not able to do any of those things. And with that wrist injury and got a later start than, what would have been ideal. And this year being healthy with the wrist injury and working out with Tamba Hali, how much different, his development can be, hopefully has been from what they've seen. So, we'll find out what he's going to look like, especially when they get to camp, put the football pads on, and how much better maybe the Felix and Udike Uzama can be this year because, it's somebody that they're going to be relying on. I mean, B.J. Thompson was a guy that, was part of that defensive end rotation, and who knows what the future is going to be for B.J. Thompson. Not sure. Hopefully he's able to play football again, but first and foremost, just live a healthy life. Rick Burkholder said earlier that, sometimes in medicine, there's no explanation or anything like that. But he's alert, he's awake, he's coming through quite well, he said, and out of sedation. but, suffering the seizure. Harrison Butker ran down to the training room to get the trainers and everybody. These are different exercises that the training staff, the medical staff, that they go through, that they put themselves through to be prepared for something like this. We saw with DeMar Hamlin how quickly everybody responded in the way that they responded. He was having the seizure. He then went into cardiac arrest. They performed CPR. Rick Burkholder reported there was one AED shock that then brought him back, and he was in cardiac arrest, he said, for maybe a minute and a half. And then they let the fire department take over, took him to the hospital, heavily sedated, and that was through last night, unconscious. And then this morning they brought him out of sedation, and he's alert, awake, and looks good so far. Obviously still thinking about that, and not out of the woods until, you're out of the hospital or anything. So looks like from where things were yesterday at, 9:30 in the morning to where they are now, seems to be a lot of positive developments that have taken place with B.J. Thompson. And as Rick Burkholder, I think Andy Reid may have mentioned it, that, it is a traumatic event to go through for the teammates and the players in the room to see all of that. There was special teams that was there. And so for those that, experienced that, went through that, trying to, work some things out as well. But B.J. Thompson's a guy that was, in that defensive end rotation with Charles Omenihu being injured. It's a big year for FAU for a lot of obvious reasons. Yes, a lot of obvious reasons it's a big year for FAU. Because one of the things that I think we'll be discussing and paying a lot of attention to moving forward, even though there are a number of people that have already been on this particular, side of the argument, or at least this push for the Chiefs to start finding the replacement, for lack of a better term, for Travis Kelce. And that may be something they do very quickly. And it's not what they focused on last year with Sam Laporta and others. It was FAU. But here's Justin Reed.
Vengeance, man. Yeah, everyone won't knock us down twice. It was a hard-fought game, competitive. Felt good to actually win this year. So appreciate all the fans and all the guys that came out to support and make it a fun evening for everyone involved. So it was a big success.
Justin, what have you learned about Hicks so far, your time with him?
Oh, I love Hicks. I love physical kid. Smart, athletic, willing to learn, very humble in the sense that he's willing to take coaching. Like I stay after practice with him all the time. We work on little things here and there, and he's soaking everything up. So he's going to be a player for us this year. He's going to help us.
You mentioned your enthusiasm for the kickoff rules. Obviously getting the chance to perhaps be that extra defender. What is Dave Toub specifically wanting you to sort of show improvement between now and when the lights are bright, probably in the preseason?
Yeah, just to have the ultimate confidence and comfort that the ball will be in play, that it won't be a penalty, and that the other team will get it at the 40. As long as the ball's in play and, we have an extra guy running down there like a heat-seeking missile, it's good things are going to happen.
How much do you want to be like this new kickoff role? Like, how much are you interested in maybe doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, because special teams plays a vital role in the game. It's like the game is three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And in the Super Bowl, special teams was the difference with us winning and losing. We had that punt that we were able to capitalize on and get the ball back for our offense near their goal line and capitalize on that turnover. So special teams makes a humongous difference, and I'm willing to do anything to help us win.
We see you getting some reps out here when we're out here, but how much more are you working on it? Are you working on it at home? I mean, how do you go about practicing that intricate little kick?
Yeah, so I have a tee in some footballs that I had ticking with me before we started the OTAs. So I worked on it in just some grass fields, just making sure there's good contact. And then OTAs has just been mainly here, and I'll take those same footballs with me in this next break and just continue to stay sharp with it.
Justin, what was your initial reaction to learning about the new rule? And we've heard guys say before, hey, I want to come to the coaching staff with an idea. Was that sort of what happened once you sort of?
No, I think it was already understood without even having to be said out loud, because every year I try and kick. You know what I mean? I just like to do it for fun. Yeah. So I petitioned Coach Toub the last 2 years to let me get some in the preseason, and of course, the first year the Arizona game. Yeah. So it was just a natural fit, you know. Like he knew I'd be excited about it, and we think we can turn it into a weapon this year.
Speaking of special teams, I assume you were in the meeting yesterday. Just can you tell us what you saw from your vantage point?
Yeah, man, just credit to our training room and just that sense of urgency and the swiftness that they were able to come in and be fast for BJ. It's just phenomenal news that we got that he's doing better and that he's stable today. But man, like really credit to our staff for being on it, and we're so fortunate that we had them here to take care of him and make sure that he's all right.
Rick told us Harrison was the first one that kind of sprang into action. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. I mean, Harrison's that guy. I mean, he loves all of us, and you know, we're a family. This is so much deeper than just football, and yeah, I mean, we root for each other, and in a moment like that, you just have to call yourself into action. Harrison did that, and the trainers moved so quickly to be able to rescue BJ, and help make it happen.
Justin, what have you seen from Nazeeh Johnson just this past year after his injury?
You know, Nazeeh's progress last year, he was on track to start. I mean, he was really developing so well. I mean, just consistent, smart player, knows the calls, willing tackler. And then he had that unfortunate injury, and he's been shaken back. I mean, he was able to get some more reps with the ones again today. And he's healing remarkably and really moving around well. So he'll continue to build his confidence back up, and he'll be another good player and another weapon for us.
What makes replacing L'Jarius Sneed so challenging for you, Dad?
Yeah, you don't replace a guy like LJ. You don't replace. I mean, LJ is special, man. He was unique. He was physical. We all loved him here. But there is opportunity for the next man to create his own stamp. You know what I mean? So you don't look for a carbon copy. There won't be another LJ. But there's opportunity on the field right now for Josh Williams, for Nazeeh Johnson, for Jalen Watson, for some of the rookies that we brought in. You know, there's opportunity there for those guys to step up and create a name for themselves. So we just continue to coach them up and allow them to have the opportunity to do that.
Just for clarity, were you guys aware that BJ was awake and alert before today's practice, or did somebody inform you guys during today's practice?
Yeah, Rick let us know in a team meeting earlier today.
Last one, Adam.
Justin, you obviously have mini camp and the ring ceremony next week, and then you have that block of time before camp starts. What's that block of time going to be like for you? How do you get yourself ready in that period for a season?
Yeah, so I have a consistent routine. There's a group of DBs that I train with every year, about 14 of us. We usually go to Phoenix, and we go train there, and we'll go there about 2 weeks before training camp, and we'll continue. So the first 2 weeks, I'll most likely be here just continuing to work with our strength staff, because they do an excellent job keeping guys in shape, and they'll get you prepared for the grind that training camp at St. Joe's always is. And then the next 2 weeks is more technical stuff that I go train with the DBs that I work with every year, with Ryan Clark leading us.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's about it.
You do that in Phoenix too?
Yeah, the training with the DBs is in Phoenix. The training with the staff is here.
Outdoor or indoor?
A little both. Yeah, when we go at like 6:37 in the morning, so we get there before the sun comes out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right, there's Justin Reed, and being there in the room, the special teams room, when B.J. Thompson started having a seizure and then went into cardiac arrest. As Justin Reed said, credit to the training staff and how quickly they sprung into action and everything they did that they were able to do for BJ and him now being awake and alert, and according to Rick Burkholder, coming through quite well. As far as the football goes from Justin Reed there, pretty interesting when he was asked about Nazeeh Johnson, who was at the softball game last night and looked to be moving well for a right fielder. No, I don't remember what position he was playing, but he was out there playing. But Justin Reed said, quote, before that injury, he was on track to start. Hey, Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. And we had heard about how well Nazeeh Johnson was doing at training camp before he suffered the torn ACL. And when the torn ACL happened, it was like, okay, that sucks for him, but how much of a difference was he going to make this year? You know, they've got depth at that position. McDuffie, you know, coming into year number 2. L'Jarius coming into the final year of his contract. You've got Williams and Watson that played all of last year. So you've got some depth and some guys that you can choose between that, yeah, it'd have been cool if Nazeeh Johnson, but not knowing what was going on with the Chiefs team in terms of plans and ideas for a Nazeeh Johnson to go and play, but Justin Reed saying he was on track to start. And if that's true, that's a huge development, because if he gets back to full health, now you're pushing Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. If they ended up playing as much as they did last year based on their own development, but also an injury, an untimely injury to Nazeeh Johnson, that if he's fully recovered and the Chiefs were looking at him as a player that was going to start opposite L'Jarius Sneed with Trent McDuffie in the slot, well, the cornerback room got much deeper. And as Justin Reed said, he's smart, physical in the run game, and today he was getting reps with the ones as well. So something to keep an eye on there with Nazeeh. If he's getting reps with the ones today, and he was, quote, on track to start last year, it's maybe a different light that I would put him in now heading into training camp.
I'm trying to think of what cornerback spot would have been.
It would have been for Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
So now you've got Trent McDuffie on the outside, and they're trying to figure out who's going to play opposite Trent McDuffie, with whether it be Shamari Connor or Nick Jones has been talked about a lot in the slot. Maybe Nazeeh Johnson can play that position. I don't know. But just another option that's there. And look, if you've got three guys, Williams, Watson, and Johnson, battling for that spot opposite Trent McDuffie, well, then whoever wins that is going to have to earn it. And you would have options behind that person. You're just making your cornerback group that much deeper if Nazeeh Johnson was that good and, coming back from that ACL tear. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling, and we'll get who's lighting it up coming up this hour, coming up next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. .390, getting on base at .370, slugging .520. The guy's got almost a .900 OPS in his last 59 plate appearances. He's got 6 walks. He's got 10 strikeouts, 2 home runs, 6 doubles. That's a pace over 162 of 61 doubles and 20 home runs. And he's also got 9 RBIs in those 16 games. So he is certainly lighting it up for the Royals as of late, and that has helped them a lot with their offense. And they score enough yesterday. He got on base 3 times, Renfroe did. And the last time that Renfroe did not get on base, going through and looking at his, because he's got right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game hitting streak. Then he had a walk before that, a hit, didn't get an at bat. Walk, hit, walk. So that would have been, nope, there's a walk. And there's a hit. And it would have been, okay, so May 15th against Seattle. Uh-oh, there you go. May 15th, the last time that Hunter Renfroe did not get on base. I mean, that was 13 games ago for Hunter Renfroe. So from May 17th to current day, the guy has a 13-game on-base streak, does Hunter Renfroe. So there you go. He's lighting it up. Dylan?
I'm going Kyle Isbell.
Okay, great.
He
About that.
is lighting it up because he has gone through a lot injury-wise, as we know, this season, and he had a massive hit yesterday. He also, as a defensive player in center field, ranks tied for 3rd among center fielders in defensive runs saved over the last 2 seasons as well.
Awesome. I'll also throw in Jaylen Brown just this entire postseason. And again, game 1 last night, what he did. But Jaylen Brown has been lighting it up this entire postseason, changing the narrative about him and around his career. If he does this for, doesn't have to be the next 4 games, but 4 more games and wins for the Celtics, then you'd be looking at NBA Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown. And boy.
And Eastern Conference
Finals MVP. You talk about a completely different view about Jaylen Brown.
And Jason Tatum.
Yeah, when Jaylen Brown was the issue, you got to get rid of Jaylen Brown and put somebody else with Jason Tatum. You can't do it. Jaylen Brown is not going to be able to come through, and he's been the catalyst so far for the Celtics run. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back at the Cuts In coming up next. Bobby Witt Jr. threw 63 games this year. He has 3 multi-home run games. He has 3 multi-stolen base games, and he has 6 triples. The only other player in the modern era since 1901 to reach those marks within their first 70 games of the season was Willie Mays in 1958. As we've said, Bobby Witt Jr., Willie Mays, indistinguishable, pretty much. All right, let's get the cuts in before the show is over. Dylan, take it away. Where are we starting?
Sterling just felt my generous proportions.
I
didn't feel him.
It's a long story with the generous proportions, but I think that'll be a recurring thing.
Genuinely curious about this.
Normally with other folk, every once in a while I'll play by myself.
Yeah. By the way, I wasn't asking that so you would say that, even though Dylan just marked that.
Wait, what?
That is true. I genuinely wanted to know how often he plays golf solo. And he said, more often, I'll play by myself. I'll play with myself. He said play with myself. I just said play golf solo. He went that route.
I like him dirty.
Oh, my God.
Volume shooter.
I mean, he really does try to get as much of this Friday cuts as possible.
And every inch matters in 25 seconds or whatever they do, right?
Oh, Les. I didn't even notice that at the time. Oh, no. Usually if that happens, I'll look over towards you and Les will then acknowledge it right then.
You were still looking at him, but I was doing the slow drop of the
yeah, because Les will be like, oh, you guys, stop. Yeah. Oh, Les.
I ain't gonna lie, when I see Tune at the Pro Bowl, I was kind of scared. Dude was fat as shit. But, he was fat, he was chubby. I was like, hold on now. Bruh, hold on, bruh. Like, Ryan Clark said you were kind of thick. Now, he wasn't lying, but seeing him now and where he's come from and how skinny he has gotten, what's that stuff with everybody taking? Ozempic? He had to be taking that, bruh, because I don't know.
He's fat. He was fat as bleep, but now he's on Ozempic, so that's good.
How many Americans have you had to explain to that being Welsh and being English are not the same thing?
Oh, wow. You've asked a great question. So many.
Can you count that high?
Oh, man. He gets Australia, from New Zealand, and then I said South Africa, and he's like, that's the one. But yes, so many people. Wales and England are different. How many countries you got in this country?
It's on the radio. What's your favorite memory from when I used to host the Jared Allen show with you?
Hey, Steven, hold on one sec.
Sure.
I am. I'm actually doing an interview right now.
So good.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Appreciate you.
He was going the wrong way, Jared Allen was. So this guy was telling him where to go, the city worker.
How do they know where he's going?
What's your name? Dwayne Thrash, man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, man?
He was going the wrong way down the
I'm
road.
talking to Jared Allen right now, bro.
That's right. Go Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm sitting talking with Jared, bro.
How you doing?
Jared Allen from the Chiefs and the Vikings, fool. Yeah.
That's right. Fool. That's right. That's Jared Allen.
I'm here talking to him right here at the bottom of the mother.
Hey, there it is. You know what? This is just like the old Jared Allen show. Wow.
Oh, my God. I'm going to take a picture and everything. But yeah, we were talking about the good way. What a day. Yo, man, God. You're on the radio right now, by the way. Hey, in the city. Hey, what's up, KC?
Hey, what's going on, man?
How y'all doing, man?
Oh, we're doing good now that we you know what? Hey, we figured out what's going on.
Delay back up.
Man, an autograph or something. I got a 10.
You got to get an autograph.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
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 Well,
Okay, all right.
there it is.
All right, here we go.
Wow.
For good measure.
But yeah, man.
Thank you.
You're going to go all the way up, and then you're going to start going
You better
back
watch
down.
out because there could be another one coming.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll see one thing.
Hey, no worries. It's all good. This reminds me of the Jared Allen show.
So Jared Allen was going to a landfill to dump a bunch of yard stuff, and he went the wrong way down one of the roads, and that guy stopped him, and he's like, I'm doing an interview right now. And it turned into that. Because only Jared Allen would bring that guy over to talk with him while the interview's going on. Brilliant.
They stuck you right in the sun here, Jason. You're gonna melt.
Thank you, Steve. He understands that sugar melts in the sun. Does it? I have no idea.
I'll give you credit. Best thing I ever did is what you told me to do. It's been about a year now. What you told me to do?
Stop drinking?
Well,
No.
By the way, can you play that again and just turn up Jake in the background? Because that's Jake behind the glass. That laugh behind the glass.
I'll give you credit. Best thing I ever did is what you told me to do. It's been about a year now. What you told me to do?
Stop drinking?
Wow.
No.
That gets me every single, because you can hear it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love Jake's laugh, and you can hear it through the glass. When about a year ago, what'd you tell me to stop doing? Drinking? Or what'd you tell me to do? Stop drinking? No, it's get YouTube TV, is what he was really meaning. By the way, same thing. I got YouTube
Mix those
TV.
up all the time.
Well, if you don't have it, sometimes the other companies can drive you to drink.
True.
But maybe that's hand in hand. Get YouTube TV, stop drinking. I'm not sure. All right, there we go. We send you off into the weekend. The program comes up next, and then some best of Sporting Kansas City show. And we will talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend.